Hello, good evening, and welcome to the penultimate round 9 of the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup, brought to you by Buggyra Racing and 301.cz, presented by simbroadcasts.tv. I'm Peter Butcher, and tonight on commentary we've got Thilo Falkenberg, Jack Eyre, and Jonathan Palmer. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello there.
Good evening, everyone.
The Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup is a 10-race series using the XR GTR car inside the Liverspeed simulator software. Today we're at Kyoto Ring for the first time in the championship. And today we have the GP Long configuration for round 9 of the championship. This track is 7.4 kilometers or 4.6 miles, depending on which measurement you want to use. It's a fictional racetrack based in the hills of Kyoto in Japan. The cars the drivers have been using throughout the championship, as you should know by now, the XR GTR is a front-engined rear-wheel drive GT car with a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine producing 490 brake horsepower. Today's event will consist of, as ever, a 20-minute qualifying session, a 5-lap sprint race, and a 90-minute 40-lap endurance race. We're getting to the sharp end of the championship with only 2 rounds remaining, this and one more, before the championship champion is crowned. And we've got some awesome racing experiences and cash prizes that are going to be awarded to the top drivers. And speaking of those drivers, here's how things currently stack in the championship. We've got Isaac Price in the lead with 2,229 points, followed by Vytautas Lagutskas, very close, 17 points behind with 2,212. And then Sami Litmanen with 2,193 close behind. And Thilo, I think you've got a little bit of intel on the significance of those top 3 drivers for us.
Yeah, those top 3 drivers are the ones who are actually fighting for the championship right now. Due to the 3 drop results each driver gets throughout the season for each sprint race and endurance race, these 3 cannot be overtaken by anyone else on this sheet. So those 3 are fighting for the big prize.
Yeah, so Jan Bukowski, even though he's only 103 points off, theoretically he will not be able to get the championship title sealed. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Yoni Katila P5, Pali Peltakangas in P6, Pedro Picanco P7, Nico Pantola P8, Kaike Piroppo P9, and Daniel Balla rounds out the top 10 places, which is where the prizes go down to. And there you can see the rest of the top 24 drivers in the championship standings after round 8 with 2 to go. Gents, what are we looking forward to this evening?
I'm looking forward to see how the drivers fare with the tyres. It's quite. I mean, you'd run quite a low downforce configuration here with the long. Well, I say long straights. They're not necessarily completely straight, but the run from turn 18 down to turn 1, and again part of the oval between turn 12 and 13. You would gain a bit of time by taking a bit of wing off there, but again, maybe suffering with a bit more tyre usage throughout the race. So yeah, we'll see how drivers manage their setups and their strategies, especially in the endurance race.
I see this track as a massive compromise in setup. Yes, you're on point, Jack, with the low downforce on the straights. But where you're really going to hurt if you go the low downforce for the speed on the straights, you are going to be an absolute slog of a state in the sweep section between turns 4 through turn 8. And you're going to be slow as all get out through that fast right-hander turn 9. So you might go towards a more medium downforce setup. In qualifying, you might run a little more top speed, but in the race, you definitely want a more compromised downforce. Yeah, this is going to be a hard effort on tires, and this is a really involved driver's track. Yeah, there's lots of straights, but it's such an active track, you hardly get a chance to rest your body and your mind. This Kyoto Grand Prix long circuit.
Before we get going for qualifying, we should thank the partners for the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup. Excalibur Army, Slovak Training Academy, Eldis, VAG Logistics Services, K-Tech, New Trend, A-Track, GC System, and Yordak, and of course the technical partner 301.cz. Your race director this evening is Robert Kotlaba, and he's getting ready to kick things off here for qualifying. So, gents, let's get going for this session.
Levente Toth, Peltakangas, and a host of others rushing out of the pit lane to start this session. They've got 20 minutes for a 2.25 minute lap, and with a 2.5 minute out lap, essentially, you are going to see a mad rush early to at least get a banker lap. And this is a very long track, so it is fairly easy to get some decent space. But I think Jack and Thilo and Pete, what do you think about the possibility of people just going for a simple banker to be on the timesheet and then get space later on?
Yeah, now these drivers have had a long enough time in practice to get used to the sets that they're going to be using in qualifying. So again, I think we'll see at least them getting to grips with the pressure of the qualifying session. 20 minutes is a long enough time to get, more than a couple attempts in. So yeah, I think we'll see maybe a banker on the initial lap. If drivers make a mistake, they're probably less reluctant to jump straight back into the pits. They'll probably complete that lap just to see where they stack up against the other drivers early on in qualifying. But yeah, I think this is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, it's a very long outlap, and you can see how slowly these drivers are taking it. They don't want to get any heat in these tyres because, of course, if you start the lap with optimum temperature tyres, you're going to be burning through them by the end of this 7.4 kilometre track. So here we're watching Isaac Price rounding the arena section of the lap, heading onto the oval, but at a crawling pace. We've got Sidus car behind, who's on a bit of a different strategy. But yeah, people also need to find space, don't they?
Both Sidus cars are actually running the 3 tires currently, so they can be more aggressive with the tires on the outlap.
Absolutely.
Let's see how this will work out for them.
For those of you unfamiliar, we have added the extra chicane into this configuration to slow cars down onto the last sector of the lap, the Buggyra chicane. So that will add a little bit of intrigue. Possible that people might start getting up onto 2 wheels there, so a little bit of excitement too. As we see Isaac now trying to get his tyres in the perfect window before he starts his lap. He's got one of the Born to Race cars behind him, so doesn't want to trip up over anyone ahead or behind. To start.
Yeah, they've got to time the runs as well to make sure that they've got enough space on their fast lap. Of course, Isaac is at the sharp end of qualifying every time, so he may allow a bit more room to the cars ahead of him. Looking at the way that the cars are spread out, Isaac's got more than enough space. So yeah, one of the longest tracks in Live for Speed. Of course, Kyoto is a fictional track within Live for Speed, set in the Japanese countryside. But this configuration, as a car jumps out the pits there, Kake proper, but Isaac wants to use the entire width of the track to his advantage. But again, this configuration's got its own pit lane, and we only use one of the 3 corners on the tri-oval here. So oval turn 1 is our turn 12, and we're in the reverse configuration. We're going around the oval clockwise. But yeah, banking of the oval, 16.6 degrees right at the lowest point and 20.8 degrees right up at the top. I don't think we'll see many up there here.
Not unless people are going for some wild overtakes. We've seen it in the past, especially out of the oval section, but yeah, less often on this configuration. Isaac currently entering sector 2 now, as we head up to the infamous that corner. Thilo, do you want to take us away for the rest of the lap? Turn 9.
Don't worry, I'll take it away. We are in turn number 9. So again, using all the AstroTurf on the left, trying to cut the curb a little bit on the inside just before we go underneath the Chromo Bridge. And we've got a long sweeping left-hander that is turn 11. You can see the track sort of drops away as you hit the first apex, keeping it tight for the second apex and running onto the apron just for a little bit until the wall makes it impossible. Trying to keep it down as close to that white line, 16 degrees at the blend line there to the apron. So it's quite banked, again moving all the way out as far as you dare, but again tucking tight, braking at about 80 meters into turn number 13, nicknamed the Boothie chicane. Isaac picks up a little bit of the tires there, but hopefully might have only scrubbed a couple kilometers off. Seems to be gaining on the car ahead of him. The fastest time we have so far is at 2:14.05, and this is the slowest corner on the track, turn 16, the long left-hander, and the track starts to move uphill now through turn 17, the chicane, and the final kink to the left, which is turn 18, to complete a lap of Kyoto Ring GP Long.
Must be a good one because he's taking a very tight line out the final corner. He must be happy with this. All the way over the apron and across the line, and Isaac Price goes onto provisional pole with a 13.49. Very, very close between him and championship contender Vitalis Legutskas.
Are you doing F1 today, Pete?
Apparently. Apologies.
So Vitalis Legutskas and Isaac Price only separated by about 4/100ths of a second, and it seems as though Yoni Katia backwards is around about half a second off of where Isaac Price is at the moment. So that's quite a lot of time for such a long track.
Yeah, but only 400 separating first and second. That's crazy after the first go. So great stuff there from the two out front. Yoni Katila half a second behind. And Sami Lepman further back still in P4. 17 times on the board, 13 minutes to go. So already coming up to halfway. And most of the drivers have only completed one hot lap.
A lot are on their second out lap, so we expect them to get about 3 attempts in before the timer ticks down to 0, of course. You can leave with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left and still cross the line. But again, it depends on how much heat you want into those tyres. If drivers are running quali trim, arguably the lowest pressure and the highest camber that they can get away with on a single lap, renders that setup useless after a full fast lap, so to speak. So again, you need to get that car into the perfect window because you only really have one shot at a qualifying lap. Those tyres will be way too hot at the end of your fast lap here.
Here you'll see Vitalis Legutskas going through this additional Buggyra chicane. It's quite a hard braking zone and then a quick right-left as opposed to the usual flat-out chicane.
And it's quite a pinch point there as well. I'll be curious to see how drivers get into their side-by-side. I'm sure we'll see plenty of that on lap 1 of the sprint race when everybody seems to get their elbows out. But you can see Vitalis now trying to get himself a bit of a window to the car ahead of him.
Also spoiling the turbo.
I was going to say, I don't know if he's trying to burn maybe a little bit of fuel off as well, but clutch in and full revs there for a few seconds.
Yeah, spooling up the turbo. Perfect launch. Out onto the home straight he goes. Yeah, Vitalis will probably get 1 or 2 extra goes at this, but he doesn't want to spend too long trying to get up into the top spot, as he aborts already. Wasn't happy with that first couple of corners.
Yeah, the inside right-hander, he took a sizable amount of curb there, but it just unsettled the car enough for him to not perfectly get it turned into the left-hander. That is still turn 1, as we name the chicane. It's just one corner, and you could see as he approached turn number 2, just got the right side of the car on the grass. And with these slick tyres, had to abort. But we've got, again, 11.5 minutes remaining. He should be able to get another 2, potentially 3 runs in if he can, get straight out there.
Yeah, Yoni Katila just starting a lap as well. Let's see if he copes through the first corner. A little bit wide at turn 1. Plenty of curb on turn 2 and then out wide. Nice through there and onto this little run down to turn number 4. Cars off ahead. Hopefully that doesn't put Yoni off too much. They move out of the way. And there Yoni passes Vitalis Legutskas, who is on another outlap. So yeah, Vitalis decided to abort that lap very early on. That's the best place to do it. You don't want to abort the lap halfway around because by that time you've already pretty much wasted near enough 3 minutes. Up to that corner, turn 9, Yoni Katila throws the car in, hangs it out really wide, perfect. Doesn't get onto the grass, which is the nemesis through there. Then we head down to the arena section. Dabber brakes down a couple of gears, fling it in, and then out onto the oval once again. And it's all about hugging the apron. You don't want to wash too wide up the banking. You'll just be giving away lap time. And then we'll see Yoni hard on the brakes for the Buggyra chicane. Flicks it over that concrete curb, avoids the poles on the right and then out to the edge of the track once again. 1 more hairpin to go and then a tricky acceleration zone. It's really easy to lose the car out of this next corner. as the turbo spools up and the rear tries to get away from you. Bit of a reverse entry there, nicely carries some speed.
New pole position,
gonna
Isaac
say-
Price.
I was about to say, keep an eye on that delta on the bottom right of your graphic there. Yanni Castillo just 0.49 away from pole position, but with Isaac Price improving his lap to a 2-minute 13.25, leaves Yanni almost 7.5 tenths away from pole position, but
Yeah,
not able to do anything this time.
Yeah, it was definitely an improvement by Yanni Catilla by nearly half a second, in fact over half a second, and still he didn't improve any positions. In fact, he went to the same lap time as Sami Lipmanen. Near enough. Yeah, one position ahead of Sami Lipmanen. Isaac Price out for what will probably be his penultimate lap. I guess he'll probably get one more after this. But yeah, doing a nice slow out lap once again. Jan Bukowski up there in P3 right now. And Sami Lipmanen, P5. As Propo for Energy Virtual Racing takes away that P5 in fact, and pushes Sami down to 6th.
Vitalis Laguskas in P2 provisionally with a 2:13.53. First split 4.242. So he's on his way into the spoon curve of turn 11. This long left-hander that's going to absolutely stress your right-hand side tires as the body rolls and puts all the weight to the right. He keeps it nice and tidy up onto the banking of turn 1 of the oval, or turn 12, dancing right along the lower edge, shortening the track as much as he can. And now the long, fast run to the Boothie chicane, slam on the brakes at about 100 meters. Keep it just off the wall, over the curb. He's got a yellow flag from a car slow up ahead. That should not bother him at all. Gets a nice tidy run through the chicane. He's at 29.34 for the second split. Time to beat at the stripe would be a 2 minutes 13.25 of a second. See if Laguskas can do it. Can he keep it tidy at the chicane? Seems to do so far. No histrionics, no dramas. Full power now, flat out to the stripe. And Laguskas trying to better Price's provisional pole of 2 minutes 13.25.
Oh.
And he does with a 2:13.18. Isaac Price coming to start another flying lap on the heels of that. We'll see if Isaac can respond to Laguskas. Isaac coming across the line at 252 kilometers an hour to start another flying lap with 6.25 minutes left in this qualifying session.
Yeah, so Vitalis Laguskas now the new man on pole, and the two guys in second and third on their attempts. We ride with Isaac Price at the moment, just a couple of corners behind Jan Bukowski in third position. We'll compare these two split times throughout the lap. 42.42 for Vitalis Laguskas is an incredible first sector. 42.48 for Jan Bukowski, so 6/100 shy so far on this lap. How's Isaac Price doing?
He's coming up to split 1 now. As he crosses it, it's a 42.6, so he's off the mark there. But you can gain a lot of time in these next couple of corners. You can give up some time in the first sector, but gain a lot of it in the second and third sector. And Isaac, we know, is a driver that will send it absolute full send, not give a second thought. And so through that corner, turn 9, easily under the pedestrian bridge and through the spoon curve now. A nice tidy entry, tucks it nice and tight to the curb. Couple touches of the curb, brings it out wide, straightening the exit of the corner as much as he can. Has a couple cars ahead to contend with. Those look like Pelton Kangas up at the top on an out lap. And as we head now towards Whitacane, 1:29.66.
I think Jan Bukowski is a little faster on this lap, however. Jan Bukowski so far 1:29.52. He's had a nice run out of the final chicane. I'll let you know what his lap time is when he crosses the line.
That's critical. Isaac deciding to go all the way to the end of his lap. I did think in the middle would he be considering an abort. He couldn't leave it any later than that. Yeah.
And it's an improvement. It's an improvement for the man in third position. Jan Mikowski goes across the line with a 2 minute 13.55, but he's got to find 3/10 if he's going to get himself onto that front row. At the moment, Isaac Price 3/10 exactly clear from the man in third position, and just 7/100ths of a second away from the opposite side of the grid on the same row, pole position.
Marcel Neva, what a lap. He slots into P5, just ahead of his teammate Kaike. And Sammy Lipman starts the lap. He's currently down in P7, so yeah, Sammy needs to get a wriggle on. He's nearly 9/10 off the top spot right now. And that's not going to help him as he gets quite wide onto the grass and aborts. Sammy will only get one more lap. Well, one more attempt at a hot lap for Sammy Lipman, as Isaac is attempting to do the same. He's going to try and take that top spot away from Vitalijs Lagutskas, who himself is also on a lap.
And Lagutskas into the hard braking for turn 4. This section coming up, turns 5, 6, 7, 8. You're generally on the throttle, and this is where you need some of that downforce. This section will very much work both sides of the car, and it's easy to get this wrong. This 7 and 8, this turn 8 he's in now, you're flat out through here, so this is a good opportunity to kind of get a short. If you're close range, you can get a good overtake on someone going into this corner if you're turn 9 brave. And that Lagutskas getting way up on 2 wheels there. That curb, if you touch it just right, it will send you rolling it into the barrier on the left-hand side. So Lagutskas with a 42.60 on that first split. That's off of his pole best time, but he has to finish this lap now.
Yeah, he's 1.8 down on his fastest, but again, I think he sacrificed a bit of time into the booth of chicane, taking a little bit too much curb and catching the grass on the right side on exit. Wouldn't have hindered him too much, of course, but again,
0.3 off that lap.
If you are on the grass, you're not going to get the perfect traction up into the next corner. But Isaac Price is round in the very final corner to start his lap. We'll jump on board with him in just a second. Currently 1 minute 52 seconds remaining in qualifying. We're going to try and get the overlay to work. Regrettably, when somebody renames or any session details get changed, our overlay does tend to have a few issues, but again, it's something that's out of our control. But we'll carry on as normal. 1 minute 36 remaining in qualifying. Isaac Price round in turn number 2 now. Decent run through turn number 1 and a great run out of the final corner to start the lap. We'll see if he can get any closer to that pole position again. Just 7/100ths of a second shy, braking just before the 50-meter mark to turn into the right-hander. That is turn 4 now.
42.42 is the split 1 time to beat if he wants to be ahead at the first split. As he comes across it now, 42.46, so 4/100ths off there. That is not negligible
That's
at all.
That's a personal best for Isaac, though. We don't know, of course, if his qualifying trim is different to Vitalijs Lagutskas. So again, there's benefits to running a slightly lower downforce configuration. He might gain a bit of time on the straights if that is the case, taking a sizable amount of curb through the right-hander. That is turn 9 through turn 10 under the Chromo Bridge, and a long sweeping left-hander over 180 degrees. It almost turns back on itself. Again, trying to maximize the power, keep the rear in check and not run too wide on that apron. And now we'll start to keep it tight through the right-hander of turn 12 and across the second split line in just a second. There's a 129.41. That is a very, very fast split. If he can nail this final sector, he will definitely improve on his lap through the Boothie chicane. Again, catching that grass with the right side. It's not hugely slow to do that, but again, whenever you're on the power on the grass, you aren't gaining the time you would be, of course, if all 4 wheels were on the tarmac. Braking for the left-hander of turn 16 at about the 60-meter mark, not hitting the apex due to you want to run a bit wider and keep the revs on the car. Of course, the turbo on this is incredibly slow at spooling up, so running wide is actually faster, believe it or not, through turn 16. But a tidy chicane and a great run through turn 18 leaves Isaac Price and it's 1 minute. Sorry, it's a 2 minute 13.33. So again, at just less than a tenth slower than his fastest. He retains second position. It looks like Vitatas Lagutskas on pole at the moment. Isaac Price again just 7/100ths down, with Jan Bukowski with a 2 minute 13.55. Top three at the moment, and I believe is Vitatas on a lap because Isaac and Jan are in the pits.
No, Vitatas spectated. He didn't
Your
have
top
time
three are all just sitting tight and waiting for the remaining cars to cross the line.
Yannick
We get our qualification
into
result.
the final corner now with a 49.45 second split, so he's going to finish Sami Litmanen through the Boothie chicane and just behind Yanni here.
Yeah, he's got a bit of traffic. That's what he needs. See what he can manage.
Yannick Katia jumps up to third with a 2 minute 13.48, bumping Jan Wikowski back down to fourth. Litmanen trying to improve on his P8 time of 2:14.05 in the slipstream of Vincent. Across the line, 2:13.74 takes Sami Litmanen up to P5 on the timing.
Yeah, there we go. That's brilliant. That's a great last lap there from Sami Litmanen.
So that means the top 5 from the championship standings are again on the top 5 of the qualifying standings. Just in a little bit of a shuffled order, as Vitatas Lagutskas takes pole position with his 2 minute 13.18, followed by Isaac Price. Third position, World Class Lines, Yannick Katia. Fourth, Jan Wikowski for Conquest Racing. Fifth position, Sidus Sami Litmanen. In sixth position, Marcelo Neva for Energy Virtual Racing, followed by his fellow countryman Pedro Picanco for Road Appraiser Racing, and Kaiki Pirappo for Energy Virtual Racing. Ninth position goes to Pauli Peltakangas for Sidus, followed by Levente Toth, then Victor Veloso, Gabor, Nico Pantola, Daniel Balla, and Sean Lee in the 15th spot. 16th position, El Hanouni for Born to Race. He's followed by Master Race Cars Michael Malek. Then Argentino Turismo's Zanella, followed by Radek Lutsky for Viaduct Czech Racing Team. In 20th position, Jari Katia for World Class Lines. Born to Race's Cristobal Gonzalez in 21st. Jeffy Jacob for Race Green Autosports in 22nd. Followed by Yaroslav Donalik, Sergei Markin, Bob Vincent, and in 26th position, the driver in 26th position.
That's Hunsrich, Tilo.
Okay. Thanks.
No worries. That rounds out our 26 finishers in qualifying, which sets the grid for the 5-lap sprint race, which is going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be probably am I right in saying it'll be the longest 5-lap sprint race we've had this season? It's got to be close to it, hasn't it? This is quite a long.
It will be. This is one of the longest tracks in Live for Speed, full stop. So I don't think we've had a track on the calendar that's been longer than this. Of course, 7.4 kilometers.
I believe the only track longer in Live for Speed is Aston Grand Prix.
And also Aston Historic and Aston Grand Touring. And Aston Grand Touring is the final round of the season.
Final round in a few weeks' time. So speaking of the rounds that we've had so far in the championship, we'll show you what's coming up next time out here in the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup. On Sunday the 1st November, we have the finale at AS6 Aston Grand Touring. Today we are at Kyoto Long, and we've got a little bit of a while to wait before the final round, but back to tonight's action. What are we expecting from the sprint race? Obviously the guys at the front need to try and keep it clean and stay there, but do we think we'll have any of the sandbagging antics towards the end where we end up having drivers on the last lap kind of sandbagging their way down the order, where other drivers who are eager to just score points or get a good result are trying to tear past them, so that they end up starting further down the grid. Finishing further down the grid and then getting reversed up into the front running positions for the endurance race. What do we think? Is it worth it here?
I don't know. I think everybody's just going to go out and get as many points as possible. And of course, the longer race with the reverse grid gives the faster drivers that would start a bit further down with the reverse grid a bit more time to fight their way up through.
And I don't know how much the sandbagging is worth it here. Last time out at South City, yeah, because track position is absolute king there. Here, as long as you're within the top bit of the field, it's easy enough for P10 on the start here to be P6 or 5 by turn 1, and then be second or third by turn 4 with those two long straights. And it is a gamble. You can fall to 10th and be guaranteed to start somewhere towards the top, but you have to be very quick on the knowledge of that race, that winner's finish time, and know where you have to target. And I just don't know if it's fully worth it here.
Yeah, it's a long race. It always is, but with such a wide open track, it is quite difficult to follow, especially through the middle sector. But in the other sectors, it's quite easy to follow, overtake, and get past. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully, we don't see anybody sandbagging. We want to see some lights to flag, wall-to-wall racing. So we'll see how we fare there. How long until the start, Jonathan?
We should have about 2.5, 3 minutes to the start. Stop? What am I talking about? Start. Yes, we start the race in about 2.5 minutes. 5 laps for this sprint race, and then a 40-lap feature race shortly after the sprint race. So this 5 laps is going to feel like a long time. At a 2-minute 13 lap, it's going to be about a 12-minute race, and it's going to feel like a half hour with how long the lap is, especially if we have some close competition.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is going through Vitalitas's mind here? He's 17 points behind Isaac in the championship. He's on pole. He's got Isaac alongside. Sammy, of course, P3 in the championship. He's starting down in 5th. So would he be one of the ones to watch out for in this race, maybe coming through?
So Vitalis is probably the one who needs to score the most points from this round. Looking at his drop results, I think the only one who might be able to negotiate scoring 0 points today is Sami Littmann in this field. Isaac already used up his drop results, so to speak.
Yeah.
We need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, especially after last time out when he rolled it in the first lap of the endurance race. I'm sure he won't like being reminded of it, but it was important in terms of his championship. So he too needs a strong result today, doesn't he, to stay ahead of Vitalitas and Sammy. But yeah, half points awarded for the 5-lap sprint race it's very valuable to do well in the sprint race. You definitely don't want to be finishing outside the top 20, because if you do, you won't be getting reversed to the front, and you'll have an even harder job at the start of race number 2.
Yeah, and of course, the way that we determine the reverse grid is it's down to the I think it's the 1,000th in terms of the complete race time. So it's not something that the leader can influence in any way. You can't predict that third decimal when you cross the line on the very final lap. But it can, depending on that final digit, be it a 0 or a 9, it would mean, of course, the top 10 to 19 be reverse. So the drivers are just lining the grid to start their lag lap. We'll bring the cameras up in just a second. This gives the drivers an opportunity to at least attack into the first sector of the lap under racing conditions to get a feel for the cars around them and the conditions. And of course, the different car to the one they had in qualifying, a lot heavier on fuel, maybe even a different tyre compound, and different parameters like that. But for the lag start at the moment, Vitalitas Lagutskás retains first position with Isaac Price in second and Yoni Katia in third. So again,
but we've lost the driver, so it will It might take a few more seconds.
Yeah, we'll bring the reel to start to you as soon as we can, as soon as the drivers have done doing their test start. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be crazy action down to turn one. It always is. And yeah, we're going. So Deco, do you want to take us away for the start?
Yep. Grid has formed. Laguskas on pole. Isaac Price second. Isaac will look to tuck right behind Laguskas as everyone else behind will try to get a good slipstream battle. Let's watch into turn number one as we have all lights red. And it's lights out, away we go. Laguskas on a very good start. Katia and Mikowski tucking right into single file line. The top six get all single file. Piarapo and Pikanko side by side. As now Litmanen around the left-hand side of Vikowski into turn one. Nieva taps the back of Vikowski. It's a bit of side-to-side contact as everyone slams on the brakes. Everyone is cleanly through turn number one except for Zanella, who spin. Laguskas has a clear lead out of turn number one, and as they head down to turn four, and Litmanen and Vikowski on the draft trying to catch up to Katia. A clean first part of the lap.
Yeah, not such a great start there for Marcelo Neva. He's down to P9 already. He's not had the best start there. He's in between his two teammates, Victor Veloso and Kaike Piarapo. Neva using the blue skin, and his teammates using the blue, red, and yellow Energy Virtual Racing paints.
Whoa!
I'm just up ahead of these two. I think for P6, there's a battle. These two have been side by side, Levente Toth and Kaike Piarapo, for half of the opening lap. It looks as though Kaike's just slotted in behind Levente Toth and lost out a little bit through the right-hander that is turn 9. But again, we've got a long sweeping left-hander to come up and a bit of a straight before the Booth chicane. And it looks like Pikanko's out wide just ahead. He's going to lose out a little bit for that.
Problem towards the back of the field. Alanoni and that was Michael Malik having contact going into the spoon curve, and that sent Malik back to 23rd. Gonzalez also being sent off coming up out of turn 7, put him back, and of course Zanella with his turn 1 spin. Through the Boothie chicane on the first lap, Laguskas still leads from Price. Price is closing that gap a bit through this first lap.
Yeah, Isaac was quite late on the brakes into the Boothie chicane, but Laguskas, again with the tighter line, was just able to get on the power and extend that gap just a little bit more. But you can see the different lines that the drivers take through the slow left-hander that is turn 16. Isaac opting for the rip of the handbrake there to try and get the rear to rotate into turn 16. But again, Vitatas Laguskas will cross the line to complete lap 1 in first position, exactly where he started, closely followed by Isaac Price in second position. Yoni Katia for World Class Lions in third position. He's got about a 1 second window to Jan Mikowski in fourth, but Pikanko is taken 5th position away from Levente Toth now as we enter turn number 1 for the second time. But Sami Litmanen just behind Pikanko. He's got a huge run. He sees the inside. There is room there. They will run side by side. I would have assumed at least till the kink. Maybe Pikanko can slot behind and attack into turn 4 now as we round the left-hand kink that is turn 3. Pikanko on the inside, just not able to brake as late as Sami Litmanen, and Sami Litmanen now retains 5th position.
Great stuff between these two. Clean, fair racing, and no heroics. And Sami Litmanen for now retains P5. That great draft, that great exit that Pikanko got down the home straight meant that you could use the draft to get past, which is something we're going to see quite a bit, I think, during the endurance race. But yeah, on lap 2 now of 5 here. Vitatas Laguskas leading the way from Isaac Price. That gap has opened up a little bit on this lap. We've got a battle between Gabor and Victor Veloso as we head down to turn 9. Really tricky to follow another car closely.
No.
That was close. Yeah, the cars running very close to each other, nose to tail, and you don't want to do that with these big wings.
Yeah, Gabor was very, very close to Veloso coming out of turn 6 and 7, and looked like he was going to try for a move into turn 9, but backed off of it and then absolutely lost the front end downforce going into that corner, and that's actually letting Nico Pantola close up on him a little bit. Yanni Katia, purple sector 2, is trying his best to keep up with Isaac and Laguskas, and with coming up to 3 laps to go at the line this time, we may indeed have a 3-horse race for the top step of this session.
I was going to say, Yoni Katia's had an absolute storming lap so far. He's been faster than Isaac Price in both sectors that we've completed on this lap. But Isaac, with a brilliant run through that chicane, just getting on the power, you can see the gap to Isaac Price is now 0.62, and Isaac takes sector number 3 2/10 faster than really anybody around him. Isaac did close the gap to Vitatas Lagutskás a little bit that last lap, and the gap is around about half a second. Yoni seems to be dropping back a little bit, at least well, to the end of lap 2 and the start of lap 3. But yeah, through the twisty section between turn 4 and turn 8, through, well, where sector 1 transitions to sector 2, Yoni Katia seems to be much faster.
Yeah, he set the fastest lap on that previous lap, as yeah, he took 2 of the fastest sectors of the race so far, and he's knocking on the door of Isaac and Vitatas, but Isaac will be in the dirty air firmly, so for him to be staying that close is quite good, and these 3 do seem to be gapping Jan Bukowski a little bit.
Lagutskás purples sector 1 this lap with a 42.82. Yanni Katia with the current fastest lap with a 2:14.18.
Oh, Marcel even lost it, and he leaves the server. He was spinning out of the exit of that corner, dropping 2 wheels on the grass, and suddenly he had no way to control the car anymore.
That's unfortunate for the driver that qualified quite high up, if I remember correctly. Was it yeah, P6 for Marcelo Neva, so not a good result for him to have basically removed himself from the race with an accident. As we head through the Buggyra chicane once again, top 5 drivers, top 6 drivers now, all getting through cleanly. And it's beginning to spread out a little bit here, but Pedro Picanco is still not letting Sami Lippmann get away. There could be a move on down the home straight. All depends on whether Pedro can pick up the throttle enough. He did clip a little bit of the chicane and got a bit of a wobble on, so I think it's going to be tricky, but he's still there. We'll see if the draft affects him. Meanwhile, behind, Kaike Propo and Levente Toth going at it. Side by side across the line. Toth on the right side, Propo on the left, and Toth with a wheel ahead as we head into turn 1, and that's the way it stays as they both take quite a healthy helping of the inside curb there. But now as we head on to this short run down to turn 4, it looks like Propo is going to have another go, and he's passed before they even make it down to the braking zone.
So while these 2 jostle for positions up at the front, Isaac Price is all over the back of Vitatas Lagutskás as Kaike Propo just trying to get around the car off. That is Pedro Picanco. Looks as though he's going to lose out to Kaike Propo. Again, it's so hard to get the turbo to spool up in these cars. Getting your foot down early is incredibly important, as you can see Pedro Picanco's lost out to Levente Toth as well, leaving Picanco down in P8. But I was just saying, in terms of the 3 at the front, Yanni Katia seems to have dropped off the pace just a little bit on that last lap, and Isaac Price is still relentlessly trying to catch up to the back of Vitatas Lagutskás. Seems as though Vitatas Lagutskás holds the fastest lap, but Isaac Price is faster in Sector 2 and Sector 3, so time is running out for the man in second position.
Looks like Cristobal Gonzalez and Jeremiah Zanella in the gravel.
Yeah, and that's at turn 4.
It looks like Zanella's trying to help Gonzalez get out, but he's going to get beached in there again.
Yeah, that's not what we want to see in this race. Yeah, we don't want to see that going on. Those cars need to clear themselves off the racing track and let the race continue without giving the race director too much sweaty work to do, as Isaac Price is all over the back of Vitatas Lagutskás now. Could there be a move on as we enter the final lap? Yes, there could.
Isaac, what an incredible run he's had out of turn 16. He seems to do it every single time. As soon as he gets the car loaded into the slowest corner on the track, just plants his right foot and just makes it stick, gets the turbo spooled up, gets on that power a little bit early, and you can see around the outside he's made the move. He crossed the line in first position with a 0.04 advantage, but into turn 1, Vitatas Lagutskás maybe suffering a little bit of the overspeed. Not not potentially getting on the brakes as early as he needed to.
And a little too far back for a slipstream and dive into turn 4. So Isaac Price, as they come across the line to see the last lap signal, and you notice how Isaac waited outside of the slipstream of Lagauskas at the start of the pit straight, and that indeed covered off a chance for Lagauskas to get the run into turn 1. Gonzalez getting out of the gravel trap as these 2 leaders pass, but still a third of a second in it, and still a chance for Lagauskas to get around Isaac as they head through turn 8 and running down towards turn 9, where the track crosses under itself now. And let's see if Lagauskas can get a good run through Spoon Curve, we might have a lunge at the Boothie Chicane, do we think, boys?
I hope so.
Oh, Jan Wikowski with problems.
Yeah, that's
big
that
problems.
corner, and also Levente Toth hard into the wall. Really, really hard into the wall. That's a disaster as he rejoins. Oh, luckily everybody else had their wits about them and could get around that. But yeah, the Gutskas doesn't look like he's got the best run onto the Spoon Curve. Isaac doing everything he needs to do in these final couple of corners.
Isaac looks to have a little more top-end speed in his car anyway, and pulling out. Lagauskas clearing the tires at the inside of the Boothie Chicane, and that will have cost him any chance at all.
Final corner then.
Wikowski losing another position.
Yeah, Jan Wikowski down to P8, but we're on the final corner of the final lap.
Yep.
Deco, take it away.
Isaac Price started second with an amazing pass 1 lap ago to take the lead, and Isaac Price will take 150 points and the win in the sprint race at Kyoto Grand Prix Long, followed by Vytautas Lagauskas, Yannick Attia coming home third, almost 2 seconds behind, Sami Litmanen in fourth, Pirapo in fifth, race time of 11 minutes 18 seconds and 31 frames of a second. And I believe that will reverse the top 11, boys.
Yeah, there was a whole gaggle of cars crossing the line together there, from basically 5th down to looked like 10th, with Kaike Pirapo getting 5th, Jan Wikowski 6th, Pedro Bacanco 7th, Nika Pantola for Genuine Racing in P8, Pali Peltikangas and Gabor for Sidus round out the top 10. Victor Veloso for Energy Virtual Racing, he finishes the second highest of the Energy Virtual Racing team after Marcelo Neva left the race after an accident at that corner. Then Sean Lee for Air Attack in P12, Race Green's Daniel Baller in P13, Levente Toth in P14, Radek Lutsky P15, Yari Katila P16, Yaroslav Donolik P17, Ayub El Hanouni in P18. Then it's Jeffin Jakob in P19, Bob Vincent rounds out the top 20. Michael Malek for Master Race Car P21, Sergey Markin P22, and Jeremiah Zanella, after trying to rescue a beached car, he finishes last of everybody who is going to finish in P23.
Yeah, I can give you a quick update on the championship situation after the sprint race, including the drop results. Isaac Price still in the lead with 2,379 points, 22 points ahead of Vytautas Lagauskas, and 44 points ahead of Sami Litmanen. Yannick Attia takes the 4th position in the championship standings by his finish in the sprint race. And Jan Wikowski falls back down to the 5th position.
So yeah, it all changes down the order, doesn't it? Between just after one sprint race with half points. So yeah, interesting stuff. I think we have a short break now, don't we? We've got around about 16 minutes before we will be going racing for the 90-minute 40-lap endurance race here at Kyoto GP Long. And we have confirmation, I think, that it will be the top 11 reversed, which means that Victor Veloso will take the pole position ahead of the 2 Sidus cars that finished at the end of the top 10. Gabor will line up on row number 1 next to Victor, and then Pedro Pali Peltikangas and Nika Pantola will line up on row 2. So an 11-car reverse grid. Isaac Price will start down in 11th place, with Vytautas Lagauskas in 10th. So, quite the stage set for this race then. What are we looking forward to? Dives into turn 1. Cars getting too close in the slipstream for turn 9. It's
Yeah,
all
you
going to go
can't
off.
you can't help but notice again with that 1/100th of a second that determined the reverse grid makes it easier for Isaac Price to fight his way through the field again, taking all but one less than the perfect amount of reverse grid positions. The lowest being 10 reverse grid, we're at 11. So again, Isaac Price will start in 11th position.
Yeah.
Arguably closer to the front than he would, of course, if the decimal was any different. But again, I want to see what Victor Veloso can do, because we know he's got some decent pace. Showed a decent, strong race number 1. He starts on pole position. So the reverse grid results for the endurance race, Victor Veloso will be on pole position with Sidus's Gabor in P2. Peltakangas for Sidus as well, a teammate of the man in second, will start in 3rd position. Nico Buntola in P4, Pedro Picanco in 5th, with Jan Bukowski in P6, Kaike Propo in 7th position, Sami Littmanen 8th, Yoni Katia 9th, Vitatas Lagutskas 10th, and Isaac Price in 11th position. But again, it's not a track here that's it's not necessarily hard to overtake. There are a few overtaking zones, turn 1, turn 4, maybe into the Boothie chicane. But again, I think Isaac Price, his racecraft is arguably second to none. And like we were saying, when he timed the run on lap 4 to get around Vitatas Lagutskas and into the lead, yeah, he just did everything that he needed to do. Of course, he could have got in front a bit earlier, but would have left him vulnerable into turn number 2. So just things like that, timing his runs, making sure that he's doing everything he can to not only get ahead but stay ahead, puts him in a very good position to take the win in the endurance race. But a lot can happen in 40 laps, and especially when the laps are as long as they are here. So I think we've got a spectacle coming our way in just a few moments' time.
Yeah, and I want to make an observation. So the drivers who were unlucky on the reverse grid scenario, Sean Lee, Daniel Balla, and Levente Toth. Don't forget, Levente Toth was getting feisty. He was really mixing it in with the guys at the top. He's been caught out because, of course, he had that incident after that corner, probably getting caught up in the Jan Bukowski incident. Jan Bukowski, he's been quite fortunate. He finished that race in P6, so he'll be starting quite high up. But Levente Toth, he'll be starting down in P14. Him and Sean Lee, they're going to want to try and get in amongst the action at the start. So I wonder if that could potentially cause Isaac a headache as he's trying to get around his main title title rival, Vitatas Lagutskas, at the start. I reckon that's going to be quite interesting because we know how racy Sean Lee can get. We know how racy Daniel Balla and Levente Toth can be off the start. So yeah, plenty of good things to look forward to off the line.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As you said, we know how racy Sean can get, and especially when he can face really other fast racers. He pulls out some pace to annoy them. Let's say it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I
okay.
think I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Jan Bukowski. Again, starts in P6. He's got 4 cars between him and Isaac Price, and he is the closest in terms of best lap in the sprint race in the midfield. So again, looks as though Jan Bukowski is going to be looking to move forward in the endurance race.
Yeah, he's definitely got the pace. We've seen that. Whether he can find the consistency here today for the duration of the endurance race remains to be seen. Kaike Propo, again, another strong showing from him in that race. Jan has, of course, he has the advantage that he is starting ahead of these guys. But we'll see, because he's got some very quick company starting ahead of him: Pedro Picanco, Nico Pintola, Pauli Peltakangas, and Gabor. So yeah, I always love the reverse scenario in the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup, because it it's almost inevitable that the quick guys can get through, but sometimes we get some unexpected things happen, like happened last time at the start, where they just, they're maybe not paying as much attention as they need to the cars ahead or what's going on, and they end up tripping over each other, and it can cause all sorts of drama. So plenty to look forward to here. We've got around 10 minutes to the start of the 90-minute endurance race, so we will be back very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to round number 9 of the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup here on simbroadcasts.tv. We are moments away from the start of the penultimate endurance race here, and what a race we have in prospect, gents.
Yeah, it should be fun. Everybody looks to be getting their elbows out in lap 1, of course, when all the cars are as close on track as they're going to be throughout the duration of the race. It's a perfect opportunity for the faster guys, again, with the top 11 reverse grid from the sprint race to make up as many positions as they can. But whether they'll pace themselves and pick a few more positions up later in the race, or whether they're just going to go all guns blazing for the first couple laps and see where they come out, it remains to be seen. So we're just a couple minutes away from the lag start. We'll bring the cameras up when the cars line the grid, but yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, it looks like we've got 25 cars. Go ahead,
Deco. We had a 7 km/h wind on that sprint race. Obviously, we will not know until we start the session, but if we have any sort of higher wind, the low wind range goes up to, I believe, 25 km/h. So if we have a stiffer breeze in the feature race, that's going to change the calculus, especially lag laps starting now. So we kind of get a read as we watch it. We're not going to show, I don't believe we'll show you the lag start, but if it's anything like the first start, people will just get line astern for the first few spots and then save all the crazy stuff to turn 4.
Yeah,
We were
hopefully.
just talking about the wind. One thing you may also need to consider is the wind direction, especially when the wind blows into the back into corner number 9. It's going to be really difficult to keep the car positioned in a way, especially in slipstream, that you still make the corner without problems the first couple of laps.
Yeah, we'll see what the wind is. I don't think it's played a massive part in any of the races that we've had so far, so it'd be quite interesting to have a readout on that. So if one of you wants to let us know what it is, yeah, that'd be awesome when the race restarts. We are literally moments away. I can't wait for this one.
Well, there are still some technical problems currently, so
Yeah, at least for the lag start. It looks as though Isaac Price lost out one position into turn 1 just because of, the circumstances going in too wide and things like that. And yeah, and Lugutskas, just a couple corners after that, got put out onto the grass. He did join the spectators, but hopefully the grid is exactly where it is now. Vitatas Lugutskas at the back of the grid. So we might take another little break just to get the grid order back into shape. But again, once we're back, we will be up for green flag racing.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go ahead with the start, so we'll show it anyway in case. Okie dokie, it's been ended. Right, we're good. We'll be back in a couple of minutes when the race gets underway. Apologies for this, but yeah, we'll be back in just a few moments. fingers crossed, we're ready to go here now for round number 9, the endurance race. And yeah, the grid is set finally. The drivers are just doing a second practice start. And we'll bring you the lights to flags action of the endurance race right now. Take it away for the start.
So Victor Veloso on pole position with Sidus Gabor and Sidus Peltikangas in second and third. Nico Puntola in fourth, and Pedro Picanco are your top 5 for the start of the 40-lap endurance race here at Kyoto. So 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, and we're away for the endurance race. Not the best start for the race. The man in pole position. It looks as though Gabor is going to have a run, make it too wide on the approach now to turn number 1. They're going to enter turn 1 by the looks of it side by side, and again with Nico Puntola looking up the inside of Peltikangas through turn 1. Victor Veloso out in the front at the moment. There was a bit of contact between Peltikangas and Nico Puntola, but the top 4 remain the same. Top 5 even. Jan Bukowski in 6th position has got Kaike Proper breathing down his neck at the moment. They look to make contact. Can't quite get side by side, as again we enter turn 4 for the first time. Victor Veloso and Gabor up at the front side by side. Victor Veloso defending the best he can from that side of Strava. It looks as though the top 2 have broken away from the pack ever so slightly. They've got a bit of a advantage. It looks to be about 0.3 of a second from second to third now, as Peltikangas joins the 3-way scrap that is the battle for the lead.
Yeah, Isaac Price and Vitatas de Gutskas are where they started. They haven't made up any places off the start. Neither was Joni Katila. So it's line astern as we head into turn number 9. Pauli Peltikangas going quite easy on the brakes as he goes quite wide because of the aerodrop. You can see the effect of it there because Nico Puntola's all over him.
Yeah, I think Nico Puntola run into the back of Peltikangas through turn 9 now, as we navigate through the long left-hander of turn 11 for the first time. Not much temperature in the right side of this car, the longest left-hander on the track, and for the first time might catch a few drivers out, but at the moment the top 2 seem to be breaking away.
The Gutskas has managed to get around Kaike Paroppo, but Isaac Price hasn't, so there's a car in between the race winners from last time as Isaac tries to force the gap, and now Sammy Lippmanen's under pressure from Legutskas as Legutskas tries to go around the outside into Boothie. Sammy checks up a bit. Now there's 2 cars in between.
We might have a change for position for the lead as well. Victor Veloso had a terrible run through the Boothie chicane, got the car slowed down and turned in, but I think he took a bit too much curb, had to take to the grass at the exit of the Boothie chicane. But Gabor with the wide entry and exit into turn 16, again just not able to get the power down. Victor Veloso safe for now, but again we've got a long straight. Don't think Gabor's close enough to potentially make a move into turn 1, but we'll ride on board nonetheless to complete lap 1 of 40 here.
Yeah, Jan Bukowski going side by side with Joni Katila.
Yeah, Joni on the inside, of course. But what can
3 wide
Jan Bukowski do? They'll slot into single file. Joni Katila has the position for now, but again, Jan Bukowski's got a decent amount of speed. They're going to attempt to be side by side again through the kink that's turn 3 now.
Levente Toth had side-to-side contact with Sean Lee coming out of turn 2. Sorry for my...
And Jan Bukowski around the outside makes the move on Joni Katila. They were side by side up into the run for the turn 4, which again is one of the best overtaking opportunities on the lap here. Jan Bukowski now up into 6th position. I believe that's where he started.
Yep. So the minor glitch there with Joni Katila trying to get past and then falling back, but normality has been restored for Jan Bukowski.
Yep. Biggest gainers so far this race. Gonzalez in 19th position. He's up 5 positions. Michael Malek as well up 5 positions in 16th position. And the biggest losers so far, Levente Toth down 6 positions and Jari Katila down in 22nd as well, losing 6 positions since the start of the race. A long one though.
Jari had a spin at the Boothie chicane on lap 1, and then Toth had side-to-side contact with Sean Lee at turn 1, and spun around as a result.
What's remarkable here? Go on, Taylor. Sorry, go.
Also, Marcel Neves' race already finished after a couple of 100 meters, so he spectated, and that's his race day.
And we've got all carnage at the front now. The Sidus drivers all getting tangled up into the Boothie chicane. Gabor's down into P5 now as he's overtaken by his teammate Peltakangas, Nico Puntola, and Pedro Picanco. So Gabor second, just behind the leader at the start of this lap. And we're all side by side. And it looks as though Jan Bukowski's trying to make his way through. He threads the needle. Brilliant driving from Jan Bukowski to make his way up into 5th position. And you can say, gents, he's right up to the back of Pedro Picanco. And again, Pedro Picanco benefiting from the draft of Nico Puntola. Jan Bukowski, it looks like he's going to be under attack from Gabor now. So we're side by side and 3 wide now. Yannick Katia moves to the outside, which again now turns to the inside. Almost contact between the two. Yanni late on the brakes. Got to be careful of Nico Puntola. And again, turning it into this left-hander with Gabor on the inside. Jan Bukowski again trying to make it 3 wide. He's on the inside, but just grabs the bit of the curb on the inside. Catches Gabor, but Sami Lippmann now trying to thread the needle through Jan Bukowski. And his teammates. There's contact again between Gabor and Jan Bukowski.
Keep it clean. This is great stuff.
So side by side, Nico Puntola and Pedro Picanco, Sami Lippmann and Yannick Katia, as well as Gabor and Jan Bukowski. Kaike Paroppo again trying to get involved in this, and Vitatas Lagutskas just behind. Jan Bukowski's off the racing line, and Vitatas Lagutskas and Isaac Price go through. Daniel Balla for race green as well is going to take a position away from Jan Bukowski. He finds himself down in 12th now.
Yeah, opportunistic move there from Daniel Balla, and yeah, the championship leaders have only made up 1 place each of them.
Just helter-skelter from the back part of the top 10 has given Victor Veloso a nearly 2-second lead.
Yeah, Nico Pizzola up into the provisional podium. Great stuff. Pedro Picanco all over.
Not for long though. Picanco will get him before the Boothie chicane.
They've got to be careful if they enter the Boothie chicane, turn 13 side by side, but it looks as though Pedro Picanco's going to have the overlap done well before the braking zone. We should see Nico Puntola move back over to the right and brake as normal. Johnny Katia, though, very close to the back of these pair. He's going to be wanting to make his way
Lippmann
further
got a better
forward.
Run to the Boothie chicane.
Sami Lippmann and Johnny Katia side by side on the exit of the Boothie chicane now.
Isaac
Looks
Price
so Lippmann's got the overlap done.
With the Tautas too. It's all going on. There's side by side action everywhere as we expected, and Isaac Price has made the move on the apex, but there's a massive straight ahead. Isaac quite wide there, quite wide through the second part. Can Vitatas have a run on him again? Down into turn 4.
Vitatas was a bit later on the power than Isaac, but Isaac a little bit, it looks as though it had a little bit of a wheel spin, but Vitatas is very much close enough to take the position away from Isaac into turn number 1. He does opt to bump him. You can see the contact made, helping them both gain positions and time to close up to the cars just ahead. But again, Isaac sits in 9th position at the moment. There's 7 cars between him and the man in first, which is Victor Veloso. Victor's got a 1.75 second lead to Peltakangas in 2nd position. So the Energy Virtual Racing car out in the lead at the moment, starting to pull away.
This is fascinating stuff to see Isaac and Vitatas kind of working together there. Yeah, that's great. Yoni Katila is down in P7 now. So
yeah, you can see, I could see Kaike looking to put the inside of Yoni Katia on the exit of turn 4 there. He's getting a bit impatient trying to follow all these cars as they concertina up through the slower, twisty sections. And again, they don't want to run too close, of course. I don't think these cars suffer massively with aero drop, but the draft is huge.
They do, They've got huge wings, especially for turn 9.
And grip through the corner. But again, if you're following a car closely, you're going to be going into the corner a bit hotter than you would normally in clean air. And that could catch a few guys off guard as Kaike gets the rear end out. You can see Isaac's going to close the gap up to the Energy Virtual Racing car now as we go underneath the Chromo Bridge and through the left-hander that is turn number 11.
The Chromo Bridge today is the zero mileage
It's the zero mileage bridge today.
Victor Veloso with a 1 2/3 seconds lead now over Peli Peltakangas as they head through the Boothie chicane. Pedro Picanco trying his best to keep tabs with Peltakangas. Nico Puntola going backwards to the grid as Sami Lippmann trying to chase him down and has passed Nico Puntola, so Nico back down to 5th. But Picanco trying to get up to P2 here in the early side of this race.
Yep. and he's got the pace as well. Picanco, fastest sector of the race in sector number 1 to try and bring that gap down to the Sidus car ahead. Both of these two are catching the race leader. The gap from first to second has gone down a couple tenths since the start of the last lap, but another man on a mission is Jan Bukowski in P12. He went fastest in sector 2.
I don't want to be that guy again, but twice this season Picanco has pulled one out of the bag and done one over on us with his tyre strategy. Now,
Your curse, Pete?
yeah, I don't know what my curse is going to be today, so I'm going to keep my mouth firmly shut. But Picanco may or may not try and do this on one set of tyres. He's done it twice before. Currently P3 and looking to try and take away P2. Yeah, I think I'm not saying anything. I've been wrong before, so you guys can take the curse this time.
We'll see exactly where we sit in just a second, because the fastest sector 1 is a 43.15 last time around from the man in third position. He's a couple tenths down on his purple run, but again, slightly just 2/100ths of a second slower than Peltokangas through sector 1. That of course could be because he's a little closer to the car ahead of him this time around, which might hinder him through the corners. But again, to stay this close through the tight and twisty sections, as soon as he gets on the straight, you can guarantee he's going to do his best to get past the Sidus driver. Again, he's a bit far from the apex through the long left-hander that is turn 11, but he can bring it back and hit the apex a bit later in the corner. But again, yeah, Tommy Littman and the other Sidus driver just behind Pedro Picanco is starting to close the gap a little bit. Pedro Picanco's not close enough to get up to the back of the Sidus driver in second position and attack into the Boothie chicane. But again, turn 16 is a crucial traction zone. And yeah, you get it wrong and you can lose half a second. But into the chicane, Pedro Picanco takes a little bit of the inside tyres. That scrubbed a few Ks off, and Sammy Littman is right on the back of Pedro Picanco's car. You can see the blue Road Appraiser car trying to defend from that purple and white Sidus car as we enter the crucial traction zone that is turn number 16. Who's going to be the biggest winner here? Sammy Littman on the power quite early. You can see he almost ran into the back of Pedro Picanco now. Sammy Littman is more than close enough to benefit from the slipstream now across the start-finish line to complete lap 5.
Oh, Littman's going to have a nice slipstream run, be completed well before turn 1. It was letting Nico Patola catch back up, and Yanni Cantillo. Isaac Price has gotten past Pirappo and is now chasing down Gabor.
Vitatas Lagutskas and Jan Bukowski have also got past Kaike Propo, and they're side by side into turn 1. Jan Bukowski is going to have to slot into behind Vitatas Lagutskas as Race Green Autosports. Daniel Bala moves past Kaike Propo too, so that's 4 positions lost for Kaike Propo between turn 18 and turn 2.
By the way, everything in that group started with Gabor and Pirappo fighting for that corner with the better end for Gabor. Pirappo lost a lot of
Picanco
momentum.
around the outside of Littmanen at turn 5 to go back into P3.
Yeah, he's not looking after his tyres, is he?
Yeah, he's got a pit anyway, apparently. So, fresh set. Okay, just run the hell out of him, get as far as you can, and just go full hog the whole race. Yeah, what's the point in saving tires if you know you're going to have to pit anyway?
Reading a bit through the chat out that this race can be done on one set of tires simply due to the nature of these high-loaded corners.
At least someone
we
said
didn't have them in Blackwood.
Thanks, Tilo. Yeah, so Pedro Picanco doing a stellar job here to get past Sammy Littman in one of the twisty corners. That's great stuff, and he's also managed to pull enough of a gap to
Isaac on Gabor down the run up past the oval start-finish line and the Kyoto National start-finish line into the Boothie chicane. So Isaac coming into P7 now.
And you can see that pinch point that is the chicane, that's Boothie chicane turn 13. Isaac was a bit further over to the left, of course, accounting for Gabor on the outside on the way in. Again, Isaac losing out a little bit on apex speed, but Gabor looking on the inside of turn 16. Isaac's been the king of traction here, at least in qualifying and the initial sprint race.
Yeah,
a brilliant run out of here to take the victory away from Vitatas Lagutskas, who finds himself right behind the man who won race number 1. They both look like they're going to make a move on the Sidus car.
Yeah, bump drafting in action here, folks. Working together, the two championship leaders. As there's contact!
Gabor
Gabor
punts.
massively missed out on his brakes there. That was, that could have been an absolute disaster. And Lugutskas, well, Isaac was very lucky not to be sent into the wall there with a three-way contact. Move in the background.
No visitors to the Shadow Realm at the moment, but it looks as though Jan Bukowski's got a great run on Gabor. He's going to move over to the right-hand side into turn 4, which again is the inside. Gabor can do everything he can on the outside to keep the speed up and potentially get the overlap done before turn 6. He manages to do that, defends successfully from Jan Bukowski. So Gabor retains P9.
Gentlemen, just to bring to your attention, last lap was lap 6. 6 laps have been completed of 40. Yannick Katia has now gone to the top of the fastest laps list with that lap 6 with a 2 minutes 15:30. Katia is now just a third of a second off the back of Litmanen and Pakanko, and as Litmanen and Pakanko have a bit of an argument over the position into turn 11 again as they dice for this position.
Yannick Katia's going to have a heck of a run here.
Pakanko. Yeah,
Sammy Litmanen as well around the outside of Pedro Pakanko now to take third away. Sammy Litmanen finds himself just behind his teammate now on the podium, but Pakanko attempting to attack back now as we approach the Boothie chicane. But keep an eye on Yannick Katia. He's going to potentially have both of these guys on the brakes. He lifts a little bit, doesn't want to go into here 3 wide. And again, watch Sammy Litmanen. Even though he went in a bit hotter, you can see Yannick Katia.
Oh, Yanni,
that is definitely a pinch point there, turn 13, and Yanni has taken 4th position away from Pedro Pakanko now. Yeah, you do not want to go into the Boothie chicane too wide.
No.
Even if you're the car on the outside and want to maybe do everything you can to stop car on your inside from taking that position away, you're only going to slow yourself down. And you can see Pakanko was defending from Sammy Litmanen and sat in 4th position. He finds himself now in 5th, having to lose out to both of the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, you can see there the gap that Victor Veloso is still managing to maintain over these guys. Paolo Peltikanga's doing a great job in P2 as well. He's been there or thereabouts throughout this season, but we haven't seen him really at the very, very sharp end of any of the races, in fact. And this, so far, his standout performance, holding P2 for 7 laps.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pakanko will be thanking his lucky stars. He's managed to take 4th back from Yannick Katia into turn 1. Just from sticking to the back of the World Class Lions car. He again tries to make his way up to Sammy Litmanen again to get himself back on that podium.
Victor Veloso has increased his lead over Peltikangas to just shy of 3 seconds. Isaac Price 1.8 seconds off of Nico Pantola. Nico Pantola is 0.8 of a second off of the back of this battle we're watching between Litmanen, Pakanko, and Katia on the 8th lap now.
I was just about to say, Isaac Price was absolutely flying last time around. He was purple in Sector 1 with a 43.10, but the man in the lead, Victor Veloso, a 42.98 Sector 1, so 10th and a half faster, and his lead now extends to about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, Victor is no slouch at this point in the race. I wonder whether he's fueled short or whether he's just absolutely he's wired, he's absolutely going for it.
He has had the whole track to himself, essentially. He's not had to battle with anyone. He's not had to worry about anyone else yet. He's still got over 3/4 of the lap before he's got to worry about lap traffic. So he's been racing his race. Everyone else has had to been worried about someone else, so they might not have been able to follow their plan just right.
But Victor Veloso going purple in Sector 1, that's arguably where the most draft on the track is. You've got that run from the start-finish line all the way down to Turn 1, where potentially following a car can benefit you, and the long run between Turn 2 and 4, again, where more time is to be gained by following a car in a slipstream. So Victor Veloso arguably is the fastest car on the track in the places that it matters.
Pedro Pakanko with that really tight line through the first part of the final chicane. It really doesn't seem to help him that much as he heads out to the back straight. He's got Yannick Katia behind. He's got a bit of a gap though. This battle definitely neutralised because of the slipstream. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Pakanko battling Litmanen here. Because yeah, this is really helping Isaac and the Gutskas. Remember, the more Pedro Pakanko holds up Sammy Litmanen with this battling, the closer those guys are able to get.
Yeah, and Isaac Price, fastest lap of the race, just 1/100th of a second faster than Victor Veloso's lap, so there's hardly anything between the man in 7th and 1st apart from track position. Isaac Price got a nice bit of clean air to the car ahead of him. He's about 1.3 seconds back from Nico Puntola. But again, what's crucial is Vitatas Lagutskas has now dropped behind Isaac Price, and the gap's about a second when they were both on top of each other just a few laps ago.
Yeah, it was all because of that three-way collision between Isaac, Vitatas and Gabor. The gap opened up a bit and it's kind of held steady, but Vitatas he'd say he's right where he needs to be to pounce.
And I tell you, Vitatas has just set a personal best sector 1, 3/10 faster than Isaac Price. So again, if he can keep this pace up, that gap will be coming down, and both of these two will be closing up on the man in 6th, which is Nico Puntola.
Some say that it's better to chase than it is to lead. Wonder what Isaac and Vitatas think of that. But right now I'm sure Vitatas is quite happy to sit behind Isaac and let him battle his way through, and maybe Vitatas can pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong. He will need to be a little bit closer though, so let's see if those lap times that Jack alluded to continue to fall.
One thing that is really different to the other race this season, Isaac is still in P7, and we are approaching the quarter-way mark of the race. Usually at this point in the race he was up at least in the podium spots, and the one struggling to get through the grid was Sami Litmanen.
Yes. Isaac is still continuing his charge forward. He's closing up to the back of Nico Puntola very slowly. Isaac, purple sector number 2, fastest of anybody. Can he improve his fastest lap? He set just a lap ago at 2 minute 15.2. Sami Litmanen fastest, then Vitatas Lagutskas. So Lagutskas a couple tenths faster than Isaac Price. He takes the fastest lap as it stands at the moment at 2 minute 15.07. A tenth and a half faster than Isaac's fastest lap just a lap ago. Vitatas looked to catch a little bit of the grass on the way out of turn 2. You can see the purple number just indicating that Vitatas Lagutskas, the number 8 car, has set the fastest lap of the race. But Isaac is right up to the back of Nico Puntola now. There's less than half a second between them, and Nico, don't know if he's struggling with the tyres, but he was just slightly offline, at least through turn 6 there. Missed the apex a little bit. The gap at the split, 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, this is what Vitatas needs now. He needs Nico to defend a little bit and try and hold Isaac up so they can punch up again. But yeah, Nico, he was in P3 at one point. He slipped down to P6, but it's still a very respectable position. And yeah, I'm sure he'll... Yeah.
Sami Litmanen now has a run on Pauli Peltokangas, it looks like. Let's see if those Sidus cars are cooperating.
They did last time out.
Yeah, what you're looking at on screen is being mirrored just a few positions back. Isaac Price is alongside Nico Puntola as Sami Litmanen is alongside his teammate Peltokangas.
Whoa, Sami loses it, goes wide through the chicane, and this bunches up the group again with Yoni Katia coming from behind.
Katia's just going to capitalize. He's going to get 3 of them wide.
Go.
Yeah, there's still 3 wide here. Yoni Katia on the outside for the left-hander that is turn 6, but we are filtering into single file ever so slowly. Yoni Katia to the inside of Sami Litmanen. Yoni Katia up into second position. Sami Litmanen now under threat from Pedro Picanco, who's taking a position away from Peltokangas as them two run side by side, but Isaac Price is the man that looks to capitalise the most. He's just catching up to the back of this pair, lifting ever so slightly, maybe just timing his run to make sure he gets alongside a bit later on in the straight.
This is stock car racing, what we're seeing here.
Isaac will be P3 by turn 4 if he keeps this up.
I was going to say, Isaac, even a flash of the brake lights then, a good 150 metres before the braking zone as to not go into that corner side by side. But Isaac now, with a brilliant run out of turn 2, he's on the left-hand side of Pauli Peltokangas for Sidus. He's looking ahead now to take the position away from the Sidus car, again just ahead of him. The Sami Litmanen now is going to be under threat from Isaac Price, who finds himself in 5th position. And crucially, Vitatas Lagutskas and Nico Puntola, again, bit of contact between these two, but Isaac Price has got 2 cars between Vitatas Lagutskas and himself.
Yeah, great stuff.
Going into the Boothia chicane, Littman and Peltikangas essentially yielded to his teammate. He knew his teammate was faster, so he yielded to him. If Littman didn't whiff the Boothia chicane like he did, Isaac would still be back as Laguskas comes to the inside of Pantola and gets around into P7. Isaac still would have been 6th right now. But because Sammy had his muffing of the punt, essentially, at the chicane, that closed everything up. That's got Katia into 2nd, and he is going to try and close that 5-second gap to Veloso here as we are past a quarter distance.
Yeah, Yoni Katila, the big winner there. I can't believe it. Like he came through on Pauli Peltikangas, Sammy Littmanen, and Pedro Bicanco, all because of that little squabble that happened with Sammy and his teammate down at the Boothia chicane. And Yoni's checked out, and he's up to P2.
Yeah.
So
P2
all the
a
position,
second ahead.
I'm going to say all the positions that Yoni gained in terms of track position, Isaac gained in terms of lap time. He absolutely smashed the fastest lap of the race out the window. Again, the fastest lap before Isaac took it was a 2 minute 15.07 by Vitatas Lagutskas. Isaac Price last time around a 2 minute 14.54, so over half a second faster.
Yeah, let's see if Isaac can get in that slipstream. I don't know if he's close enough to make the move. He might be.
This car it's a very fat car, so it punches a large hole in the air, but Isaac just too far out, 0.4 of a second off. Yanni Katia has brought the 5 seconds down in the last 2 sectors to 4.8 seconds to the lead with Veloso, and is about 2/10 faster that lap over Veloso. But as we watch Isaac Price try and chase down Simon Littmanen and Price, at the same time trying to keep with Pedro Bicanco.
Making a move on the outside of Pauli Peltikangas. Is he going to try and make it stick? Yes, he is. He runs out onto the gravel. Yeah, they left each other enough room. That's good stuff. Lagutskas takes over P6 from the Sidus driver.
Yep. Jan Mikowski just behind Nico Pantola, and going to try and power. Looked like he was going to try and power around the outside at turn 7. But just sneaking behind, but Mikowski might be up into P8 by that corner or spoon curve.
Yeah, Mikowski moves over to the right-hand
side,
backs out of it just
Not
before the crucial
enough.
Commitment zone.
Yeah, then gets to the dirty air.
Yeah, just a little wide of the turn-in. Almost lost out on the exit, but lucky that he's not got a car right up behind him. Kaike Propo is about a second back, so Jan can regroup and attack once more around turn 11, trying to stay as close to the cars ahead of as physically possible.
Out of underneath the zero mileage lubricant bridge there, Nico Pantola gave either an apologetic flash of the hazard lights or a thank you flash of the hazard lights, presumably to the Conquest Racing driver.
By the way, the grid is still rather densely packed.
It really is.
Top 16 within 20 seconds, and then you have to think that Victor Velosa is 4.5 seconds ahead. So really all the cars within less than 16 seconds.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, go on, Pete.
It's okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Sammy's opened up the gap on Isaac that lap.
I think he did ever so slightly. Looking at the times, it looks as though Isaac Price was just over a tenth slower than Sammy Littmanen that time around, but Pedro Bicanco last time around in the middle sector, fastest of anybody, the man in 3rd position. Again, overall a tenth slower on that lap than Yoni Katia in 2nd position, but again, proving he has the pace nonetheless.
We've seen some racing action in this series, but nothing quite compares to this. This has been probably the most entertaining opening 12 laps of a race I think I've ever watched. Everything's gone on. It's been really clean up and down the grid, and yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. Victor Veloso leading the way.
I was going to say, and a good thing as well is it's as though the race is not settled at this point. Usually
not.
In these endurance races, we see the top guys like Isaac Price and Vitatas Lagutskas as well as Yoni Katia make their way out into the lead, and it's just a case of how much they're going to win by. But at the moment, Yoni Katia has taken about 0.3 of a second out of the race leader every single lap, and that gap currently sits at 4.36 seconds. So again, Yoni Katia making moves to try and get himself as close to the man in the lead as possible, trying to break away from Pedro Picanco in third position. He's got about a 1.2 second gap to the man in third as the world-class Lions car, as he is approaching turn 13.
Yeah, we haven't seen a performance like this from Yoni Katila in the endurance race since quite early on in the season, I think we have to say. This is a fantastic effort from Yoni. Yeah, it's just a matter of time though. Let's see how long he can keep this P2.
Isaac's still not done pushing as hard as he can. He's just taken away Pedro Picanco's fastest Sector 2 time, as again we can see how close these two cars get at the the slowest part of the track. Sammy though very strong on the power out of turn 16. I don't think Isaac can do more than he's doing to get close to that Sidus driver.
Yeah, Sammy Littman knows that this is it. He has to keep Isaac behind him if he wants any sort of chance of getting ahead of him in the standings.
Again, a bit of a recap on the biggest winners and losers so far in this race. Yoni Katia in second position. He's up 7 positions from where he started. Sammy Littman, he's up 4 positions. Isaac Price is up 6 positions. And then the biggest losers again, unfortunately, Sidus is Gabor in P12. He's down 10 positions from where he started.
We have lost 2 cars from the run so far. Zanella and Neva both retiring on the first lap after incidents. 23 cars remain of our 25 starters for this race day here at Kyoto Grand Prix Long for the Buggyra 0 Mileage GT Cup.
We're watching Victor Veloso come around that corner as he heads up to the Zero Mileage Lubricants Bridge. He's got a really comfortable lead. This is a brilliant performance from Victor Veloso. Didn't have the best start, did he? But managed to keep it clean, kept it ahead of the cars behind him, and has managed to stretch that gap out. And it currently is Yoni Katila, the man that is his biggest threat. Jack, what's the gap at?
Well, the gap at the moment between Yoni Katia and Victor Veloso, we'll wait just a second to get a more up-to-date reading as we're about to cross over the transition from Sector 2 to Sector 3. The gap is 4.01 seconds. So again, looks as though Yoni's taken another 0.3 out of Victor Veloso's lead. But keep an eye on Pedro Picanco in the back of your shot, because even though Yoni Katia has got absolute pace, he's still not even a full second ahead of Pedro Picanco. The gap is at 0.9 of a second, with Picanco taking the fastest Sector 1 of anybody so far with a 42.81. Yoni Katia responds again with the fastest Sector 2 on this lap, and the gap seems to be at least remaining about a second between Yoni Katia in second and Pedro Picanco in first, but both of these two are consistently taking time out of the race leader. And again, the gap at the line now 3.65 seconds, so another 3.5 of a second just in that final sector, as Picanco takes the fastest lap of the race. Sorry, Tilo.
Isaac Price just closed the gap down again to 0.3 seconds. So if he can keep up this pace, he might be able to attack on the oval part of the section of the track.
Liga Batola swings to the outside on Pali Paldikangas as we head down to turn 4. That's a great move. And Jan Bukowski
just behind.
In the background.
Yeah, just behind Parapo, trying to argue over that position with Jan Bukowski. As tried to look around the outside going into turn 4. Now stinging up the inside of Bukowski through 5, and then uphill left through 6. Bukowski on the back of Peltikangas coming out of turn 7.
Aero drop.
Losing a little wide in the aero stream of Peltikangas. That lets Parapo right on the back of Bukowski.
He's going for it.
Now squeezes in on the left-hand side, but thinks a little bit better of it. Bit of contact going to turn number 9, and Bukowski staying in P9.
Yeah, that could have been ugly. That was a brave move there to put your car there, Kai. But yeah, we're glad you did, and we're glad it worked out.
Now, I'm wondering if Victor Veloso has got a direct line into this commentary box, and if he's listening to what we're saying, because he has just set purple Sector 1 and Sector 2 on this lap, taking 0.3 out of Yoni Katia in the first sector alone. Johnny Katia has a little bit of a moment, as well as Pedro Picanco has a little bit of a moment out of the Boothie chicane, but keep an eye on this battle now. Looks as though race green's Daniel Balla loses out to Gabor, but again, it's not over. Gabor, not with the greatest exit out of turn 13. They will look to be side by side into turn 16, the slowest corner on the track, crucial traction zone, and arguably you'd want to be on the outside. You can keep the speed up a little bit more and the revs and boost along with it, but race green's Daniel Balla proving me wrong and taking 11th position away from Sidus's Gabor, who now finds himself under pressure from Levente Toth. As we're going to cross the start-finish line, Daniel might find himself in 13th position at the end of this, as we are 3 wide. What's going to happen between Levente Toth and Gabor? They're going to be side by side into turn number 1, and Daniel Balla, it's not over for him yet. Of course, these two overtaking Daniel earlier in the straight gave Daniel the chance to tuck back into the slipstream and attack further into turn 1, but at the moment Gabor is in 11th position with Levente Toth in 12th and Daniel Balla in 13th. What's going to happen into turn 4?
Yeah, that was
Daniel
great
moves
stuff.
to the outside, which will turn to the inside for turn 4. Who's latest on the brakes? Levente very brave on the outside, braking a little bit later, but Daniel Balla manages to get the overlap done before
this is some racy
turn
stuff
5.
from Dan Balla. Remember, Dan Balla started the season in grid 2, and here he is, P12. He had a good race last time too.
I'm going to say, tucking onto the back of that, Levente Toth having that draft across the start-finish line, he takes the fastest lap of the race now. So Levente Toth in 13th position with a 2-minute 14.27, fastest lap of the race.
He had an absolutely mega toe down the oval, and then an absolutely mega toe down the home straight. I'm not surprised that he's set a blistering lap time, but yeah, you have to say that down in 13th place is not really what you expect the 13th place driver to be doing at this point in the race, but great stuff from these 3 drivers.
Yeah, up at the front though, the gap between Katia and Veloso is still about 3.5 seconds. He was taking 0.3 of a second out of the race leader, was the man in second, the World Class Lions car, but last time around Victor Veloso was over 1.5 tenths faster. That gap is currently stalled at about 3.5 seconds. I'll keep you posted if it changes further. Daniel Balla, not the cleanest of the turn 13, the Boothie chicane. Levente Toth is pretty close. Meanwhile, Isaac Price is right on the back of Sammy Littman, and take it away, JP.
Now, Isaac's been keeping about the same distance, station keeping behind Littmanen, and it's been ebbing and flowing. Littmanen has been, I've seen him kick the rear out a bit going into the final hairpin last few laps. So Littmanen's seems to be on the ragged edge of adhesion. It seems like the majority of the top 10 have settled into a rhythm as Sean Lee comes into the pit lane. We have a yellow flag up ahead from someone that is Sergei Markin, who is last place. He was the first car to make a pit stop. Sean Lee now in the pit lane. But Price and Littmanen are hanging towards the back. Veloso has picked up the pace. We have Daniel Balla being overtaken by Levente Toth now out of turn 4 as this battle continues between these 2 drivers.
Yeah, Toth had a go and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, he probably also was a little bit irritated by Sergei Markin, who decided to let the whole group pass on one of the fastest parts of the track in a not really optimal way, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Wow.
a crucial part of the track here where there is only one race in line and there's not really much room for being, 2 or 3 feet the left or right of the racing line. You're going to lose out. So again, just trying to bide your time around these lap cars and think of where you can place your car as to lose out the least amount of time.
Yeah, it's not normally the track you'd associate with being a problem for back markers, really. I mean, last time out at SouthCity, the back markers didn't play that much of a role in the end.
And with such a long track, you'd think, the 25 we had earlier, 23 now, I believe, in this race, would have more than enough room to, spread out as Levente Toth absolutely straight lined the Boothie chicane, but still remains behind Daniel Balla. we look at Yoni Katia in second position. He's got a 3.4 second gap to Victor Veloso. So again, it's around about 3.5 seconds. It has stalled at the moment, but Yoni Katia, 3/100ths of a second faster in sector 2, takes the purple sector number 2, and the fastest lap with it as well. So Yoni Katia beating Levente Toth's faster lap from earlier by 0.5 finds himself 3.2 seconds behind Victor Veloso and 1.8 ahead of Pedro Picanco in third position. So Yoni on an absolute stormer at the moment.
They all are. I mean, this is crazy pace. This is really crazy pace at this stage of the race from all these guys. I'm interested in Sean Lee's. Sorry, go ahead, JP.
To the point of the pace, I'm going to refer back to 2013 when New Dimension Racing ran a 24-hour race at this circuit. Everyone was setting stonkers of laps. Everyone was just on fire for all 24 hours. This track is one of those where you have to be on it the entire race, because if you try and back off or slow down, you're going to make a mistake and you're going to end up in one of these giant gravel traps, or you're going to have some sort of major incident. The walls are close here, especially in the fast sweeping sections, and when you go off, it is a big off here and you lose heaps of time. So this track requires that constant pace this entire race.
Yeah, it demands it, certainly. I mean, yeah, 24-hour racing, what a thing. Wish we had that back in Liver Speed, but anyway.
Jan Wikowski is now at the tail end of Pauli Peltokangas. He should be in a very good position to accelerate now through the oval into the braking zone for the Buddha chicane. Side by side, Sidus and Conquest Racing, with the yellow and white Conquest Racing car clearing Pauli Peltokangas completely into the chicane.
Yeah, that was the best thing that Peltokangas could have done, is just to lift a little bit and let Jan move over to the right-hand side to take the normal racing line through turn 13. He could have kept his foot in there, could Peltokangas, but again, with Kaike proper being so close to the back of Peltokangas, it would have hindered them both, so to speak. So a switch of positions, Jan Wikowski finds himself in 8th position, and Kaike Propo is in a very good position to benefit from the draft. That huge vacuum that he's driving through now, a huge hole punched in the air by Peltokangas' rear wing, means that Kaike moves up into 9th position. Peltokangas regrettably losing out on 2 positions in a case of a sector.
Yeah, and down to 10th, Gabor in P11, so the two Sidus cars united once again. And their teammate
Victor Veloso out in the lead, not a race best, but personal best, and very close to the fastest lap of the race by 1/10 of a second, has pulled 4/10 out of the bag on Yoni Katia, and the gap's now at 3.7, gents.
Yeah, earlier in that lap, Katia had the gap down to 3.1, but Katia lost 4/10 of a second again in the last sector.
Jan Wikowski is fighting with Kaike Piroppo and Pauli Peltokangas now behind those two. But this battle seems to have cooled down a little bit as Jan Wikowski runs wide. Very wide, and this gives the momentum now to Kaike Piroppo if he can carry it through the spoon corner.
Yeah, he's got a good run. Jan a little bit wider at the apex, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough to do anything with this. Might be.
He might be at the very tail end.
Just out of it, I think.
Yeah, he's on no man's land, so he's still getting a little bit of draft, but not quite enough. You might want to say drafting works like a potato.
I was wondering when we were going to have that, Dilo.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
Kaike now at the bumper of Jan Wikowski because he slammed through the Booty chicane under braking, and Wikowski seems to be able to get a little bit later onto the brakes.
And crucially, a little bit earlier on the power as well. You can see that gap opening up now. Kaike not necessarily struggling to get the power down, but it was just a little bit later on the throttle, which meant by the time the boost had built up in that turbo, Jan Wikowski had already pulled about 10 or 15 feet.
Teammate teammates going at it side by side across the line between Gabor and Paddy Paltakangas. Gabor flashes his headlights in approval and moves ahead of his teammate.
These cars must be getting light on fuel, boys. Those fast laps are starting to come fast and furious.
Yeah, definitely. Pikanko, the first of anybody into the 2-minute 13s last time around, brings the gap to second position down to 1.2. And crucially, from second to first, that gap's still 3.5 seconds. So Victor Veloso doing everything he needs at the moment at the front to control the pace. Paltakangas is a little bit out of shape into turn 4. He drops back to his teammate a little bit more. Yoni Katia sitting nice, 3.5 seconds exactly away from the man in first position and comfortably 1.3 ahead of Pedro Picanco in third.
Yeah, Daniel
Veloso
Balla makes a pit stop. Sorry, JP. Daniel Balla makes a pit stop around about halfway, so that's an interesting strategy, and it might explain his rapid pace towards the top 10.
I'll tell you something though, Isaac Price is about to relieve Sami Litmanen of fourth position. Isaac Price setting a very respectable Sector 1, fastest of anybody, and a personal best lap just last time around. I don't think he's close enough. He looked to be close enough at the apex of turn 11 to benefit from the draft all the way down to turn 13, which is the Boothie chicane. But Isaac and Sami very close on pace in this final sector. And crucially, there was straight tyre, and Isaac has run wide as well in avoidance.
Yeah.
So Isaac lost out more than Sami Litmanen did, even though Sami was the one that collected the tyres. But like I was saying, even if Isaac got very close up into turn 16, Sami is incredible when it comes to getting on the power and just unlocking the amount of traction that he has at his disposal.
That's unlucky. Isaac was the closest he'd been to Sami in a long time, and it must have been either Yoni or Picanco who unsettled that tyre at the chicane, and Isaac had to take avoiding action. So he's got all that work to do again. These guys have been lapping so close to the same pace that, yeah, that's going to be really hard work for Isaac to bring that.
Yeah, just to put into context how much time Isaac lost. Even though Sami Litmanen as well had to yield for the tyres, he crosses the line and does a 2-minute 14.44, some 6.5 tenths faster than Isaac Price, who again took avoiding action as well. Isaac did a 2-minute 15.13 last time around, and it might have actually been the race leader that adjusted those tyres, because his lap time was a 2-minute 15 as well. So 8 tenths or even 9 tenths faster was Yoni Katia last time around. The gap from first to second is now 2.6 rather than 3.5. So Victor Veloso looked to be the person to knock those tyres into the Boothie chicane. He can't afford many more mistakes like this if he's going to keep that lead up.
I've been seeing on several of the pit stops that we've seen so far, there has been damage repair. Looking through the field, these curves can definitely cause damper damage and some control arm damage. These are very high curves. This is a very high-centered car, and this car does attack the curves. You have to attack the curves at this track, and so we've been seeing we'll see a lot of right side and some left side damage. And like I said earlier, if you have a mistake and you go off, the walls are not far at all. Katia has knocked about a second off of the gap to Victor Veloso. Here, as we have completed half of the race, coming to complete the 21st tour of Kyoto Grand Prix Long with the Boothie chicane. Gap was 2.5 seconds at the second intermediate as they cross the start-finish line. Now, Victor has kept the gap. Actually, Yanni has shortened the gap to 2.3, and about 0.3 of a second off that last lap, and losing most of that time in the second sector. So I'm presuming that Veloso had a kerfuffle either around that corner or the sweeping section, 7-8, or even at the spoon curve. So the Veloso's car getting a little bigger out the front windscreen of Yanni Katia.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a scrap going on for 14th position. Born to Race as Gonzalez is currently trying to defend from Master Race Cars Michael Malik.
Yeah, that car's
These two have been very close. throughout the lap that we're just about to complete now. It looks as though Michael Malek closed right up to the back of Gonzalez there into turn 9, so we'll see how they fare through sector 1, at least the initial part of sector 2 as well. Currently separated by about 0.3 of a second at the start finish line. Michael taking a bit more curb through the initial chicane, turn 1 and turn 2, but lifted a little bit at the apex, so any advantage he had from carrying a bit of speed has been somewhat stalled for now as we enter turn 4. Michael looks just to be a bit more smoother and a bit earlier on the power. You can see through the exit of the corner he's closed up to the back of Born to Race. I think that's Scattle, Mr. Gonzalez, for this race, of course, with the name format that we run here.
Yeah, this
Again,
is the wrong part of the lap
0.36.
for Michael to catch up.
It is.
The twisty section.
So 2/100ths was Gonzalez faster than Michael. It's not much. Time is time. This is where Michael caught right up to the back of that Born to Race car last time around. You can see this time he's a bit more conservative, at least on the exit. Gonzalez, the car ahead, choosing to take a bit more of that AstroTurf on the outside onto the left-hand side of the track there. But Michael Malek, a couple Ks at least faster through the initial part of turn 11, but you can see just a snap of oversteer meant that he had to release some of that lock to try and get the car back under control, and arguably has lost about 0.2 of a second now as Nico Puntola jumps into the pits. Where's he going to come out? Hopefully in some clean air. Manages to get the car slowed down just in time. Opts for box number 5.
Levente Toth also into the pits just ahead, just behind Nico Pantola. So some cars opting to make their stop just over the halfway mark.
Yeah, it's hammer time for Yannick Attia as well now. That gap's down to just over 2 seconds, and Yannick Attia took 2.5 out of Victor Beloso on the last lap, going purple in sector 2 as well for good measure. So again, we're starting to see the fast laps come in now. The fastest lap of the race currently held by the man in 3rd position, set on lap 19 just a few laps ago. The fastest sectors, however, Isaac Price set the fastest sector 1 on this very lap, lap number 23. Yannick Attia set the fastest sector 2 as well just 1 lap ago, but nobody seemed to be able to get near the sector 3 time that Levente Toth set on lap 15.
Interestingly, Toth, who was just in the pit lane, only took fuel.
What?
Did not change his tires, and with 17 laps to go, okay.
is that what you're saying? Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
We've got
maybe
someone who's risking it, unless they forgot to change tires.
or maybe he has preset.
Only change tires if we're greater than 90%. It was not 90%.
Maybe something. While we were talking about that going on, Michael Malek managed to get past the Born to Race driver of Gonzalez, back up to P13. Well, up to P14 once they make their pit stop, because they came out ahead of Levente Toth.
I'm beginning to suspect that Victor Veloso is not very happy with his car. His lap times have not improved any further, and Yanni seems to be much happier with his car late in the run.
And Yanni had a great run through turn 16 as well. I don't know if Victor's just maybe struggling with the rears, I don't know, but that gap's under 2 seconds now, 1.9. And again, Pedro Picanco is absolutely flying. He was 0.6 of a second faster than both of the cars ahead of him.
Isaac Price just shatters fastest lap with a 13.72. Yannick Attia in the slipstream of his father, Yari Attia, as they head down to turn 4. Yari having just made a pit stop, replacing his 4 boots and getting a fresh tank of fuel from the refrigerator.
Looks like he needs to replace the rear right quarter panel of that car as well, but hasn't done that in his pit stop.
That's running fine.
Yeah, it is but a scratch.
He's a flesh
Lost
wound.
I'm sorry. So gaps down to 1 2/3 of a second from Veloso to Katia as they head into that corner. Katia just slowly bringing that in as Levente Toth comes into the pit lane again. I'm assuming to see all tires on my record of service when he's finished.
Yeah, that's
there.
unlucky. That's unlucky. It must have just been a botched pit
You
stop.
say slow, but so far this lap, Yannick Attia almost 3/10 faster in Sector 1 alone. Definitely basking in the low fuel conditions that he's in at the moment before he ultimately makes his pit stop.
Question: what happened to Pauli Peltigangas? Did he just make a regular pit stop, or because he's down in P21 right now, which seems a little bit out of sorts considering Daniel Ballard's ahead of him?
Well, it looks as though Peltigangas has
Peltigangas,
accidentally maybe
refueled,
stopped.
minor body, left front
Never mind.
damage, right front damage, left rear damage, right rear damage, all tires. 48-second pit stop.
So he was
Isaac
head damage
Price
as
on
well.
a run on Isaac Price with a run on Sammy Lettmanen, but does not go for it into the final hairpin. Takes it a little wide, sees if he can cut across with a straighter line through the final chicane. Does Isaac have a slipstream on Lettmanen?
Yes.
Will he have enough to be alongside of him before turn 1
Yes.
or even at turn 1? Littmanen trying to, yes, thank you. Yes, Isaac has it. Littmanen trying to go side to side to break said draft, but does not do it. Isaac says, I've had enough of being behind you, Sammy. Let me round. Sammy says, not quite so fast, Isaac, but you seem to have gotten ahead. Let me come around in your slipstream on the way down to turn 4, Isaac. So
Have you
Isaac's
ever
gonna
organised a puppet show? Because I'd love to attend that.
Sammy getting Sammy getting a bit on the back bumper of Price as heading down to turn 4 with the bump draft. Sammy looking to try around the outside. Cannot do it. Isaac Price powering with his XR and its turbo out of turn number 4 just fine. And now Sammy will do the job of trailing Isaac through the sweep section. Let's see if he has any aero drop off and gets the front of the car to wash out a bit.
That exposition courtesy of our commentator Jonathan Palmer, who has split personality disorder.
I'm going to have to refer you to the recent NHL Stanley Cup Finals, and if you ever listened to Doc Emmerich's commentary, he is a similar wordsmith at times.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. Isaac moves up to P4. Took him quite a while after that bit of a incident at the Booths chicane with the tyres being displaced.
Yannick Katia in the oval turn 1 area, turn 12 of our course today, with a 1 second gap to Veloso there. At split 2, the gap is now, as I wait for an update, 0.8 of a second. So Katia, the younger, very much so in hot pursuit of Veloso. We'll see when either of these and the rest of our top 10 pit, the top 10 currently not having made a pit stop. Lushki in P10, Radek there in P10, up 5 positions from his starting position.
Yeah, I fear Victor Veloso's days at the head of this race are numbered. World Class Lions car definitely getting quite big in the rear view, but importantly, not ahead yet.
There is a chicane at the pit entry. It is surrounded by grass. Most times you can go flat out over the grass without issue, but every once in a while, if you get it wrong, it causes you great loss of time. So the pit entry here, very much a good place to gain or lose time. And we'll see how people come there as Gabor sets a new personal best of his own, but it's still about a second slower than what Katia is doing right now.
Yeah, your top
Gap.
4 are very close together still.
Katia has the gap down to a half a second now at turn 7, and we'll have the slipstream on the front straight, or on the oval section at the very least. Veloso going through that corner now.
Yeah, he'll have a very
And running
minor
just a
amount.
little wide.
Well, actually, Catilla has closed up quite considerably into turn 9. This is impressive stuff.
A lot of time lost through turn 9 for Veloso. He is definitely not happy with that car running wide in the spoon curve, and Katia will have the slipstream through turn 12. Going the wrong way around the oval, but the right way for our current circuit. And Katia, I believe, will have the lead before the Booths chicane. A good slipstream run. Veloso taking a normal line, not trying to defend at all. Side by side at the kink on the front straight and on the brakes. Veloso trying to argue the position. Yes, he does. Goes through and straight lines the chicane. Completely straight lines the chicane. And Katia having to hold up. Veloso now He probably should yield a little more time than that back, but
Yeah.
the stewards will have a look at that after the race, I'm absolutely certain, if not now, as Veloso getting it a bit crossways coming out of the final corner now, and has come onto the pit straight. Veloso looked like he was going into the pits, but thought better of it,
Yeah,
and
I think
Katia with slipstream.
I think if Veloso had let Cantilla past, it wouldn't have been an issue. If Cantilla has to make his way past on track, it's a little bit more questionable. I think the move's going to be on here.
Pedro Picanco drive-through penalty for speeding the pit lane as Katia goes around the left-hand side of Veloso before turn 1 and has him clear. And now Yanni Katia will do the job of pulling ahead from Veloso. Isaac Price in third now.
Pedro, what have you done?
That's a disaster for Picanco there. Arguably in a decent position to at least lead a lap of this race with the pace that he had, catching up to the leading two before ultimately jumping into the pits and picking up that drive-through penalty, which means again he's going to have to drive down the pit lane on the limiter.
Yeah.
That's his race over somewhat in terms of podium finishing.
Am I mistaken, or did Victor lift there, letting basically Yanni past?
Not sure. We have little birds who are going to go and find that out for us.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
Thank you. For those of you not knowing what a bird sounds like, JP.
It depends on what bird, obviously.
Well, and if you only know Twitter, you can still,
a little bird. You wouldn't expect it to go.
Wow, all sorts of impressions happening.
Yeah, we're pleased to announce the Sim Broadcast Petting Zoo open next week. Get yourself down. Yanni seems to be pulling away from Victor Veloso at the moment. 0.6 of a second is the gap from first to second. Yanni also fastest in Sector 1 at the moment, a 42.63 as opposed to Victor Veloso's 43.4, so 0.8 of a second faster, but taking a huge amount of tyres into the Boothie chicane.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point these guys have got to blink. I wonder if Victor will think better of it and just take that car down the pit lane at some point. Maybe sooner than Yanni Cantilla? I don't know. At this point, he probably just wants
in the pit lane now.
Track position. Careful on the limiter, Vitalitas. We don't want to have any more drive-throughs. Nope, no such problems for the Gutskas. That's Gabor that's just gone past. So Gabor moves ahead of the Gutskas for now, but of course still has to make his pit stop. And the Gutskas is still he's just pulled away. So quite a lot of it's quite a long pit stop. So we'll see where he comes out in a few moments when the likes of Yanni Cantilla, Victor Veloso, and Isaac Price make the pit stop.
Laguskas gets a drive-through for speeding on the exit of pit lane.
Me.
Either let the limiter off too early.
That's huge.
One thing
That's huge for the championship.
There is a long distance from the last pit stall to the speed limit end line as Picanco completes his drive-through penalty. And at some tracks, you can, if you take one of the last stalls down the road, you can avoid the speed limiter on pit exit. You cannot do that here at Kyoto.
Yeah, it's one of the more spiteful pit exits. Some of
Isaac Price is on the back of Veloso. Pardon me, Pete.
That's okay.
Isaac Price will get around Veloso in the oval turn 1 area, I do believe. Isaac Price swings the car to the left. Veloso taking the right-hand side and allows Isaac to get ahead well before the Booth chicane. Isaac on the blinders at about 98 meters for the Booth chicane, and both of them get through cleanly. And now Sammy Littmanen will try to get around Veloso here with shortly to be 28 laps complete, 12 to go at the line.
Yeah, not really sure what to say about Picanco and the Gutskas there. It's a big shame for those two guys. But
race leader in Yanni Katia.
Great for Victor Veloso, you have to say. As Sammy Littmanen
Katia,
also pits.
Veloso, and Littmanen also in the pit, yes.
Yeah, so this looks like it's Isaac Price has taken over the lead of the race, folks. How many more laps do we reckon Isaac's going to go? Because he's done this before. He's drawn out his stint to try and do the overcut. By the overcut, I mean he will do more laps while other cars are driving around with high fuel and new tyres.
I think he could probably go
tyres and
2 or 3 more laps.
low fuel. Yeah. Okay.
And of course, it also depends on the cleanliness of Katia and Littmanen, as Littmanen and Veloso are now side by side coming through the pit lane. Veloso has gotten a drive-through penalty for his troubles in the pit lane, so that's definitely ruined his chances at a podium finish now.
Well, I don't know how many more people are going to get drive-through penalties at the exit pit lane. I mean, Isaac Price is still going to make his pit stop. You'd be surprised to see it from him, but
it looks to be at least the favourite so far is Yannick Katia, because he's managed to get through his pit stop without collecting a drive-through penalty. It gives him the net lead at the moment, being about 2 seconds ahead of Isaac when he stopped. If Isaac can make the deficit of 2.5 seconds up in the time between now and the checkered flag, might find himself on the top step of that podium at the end of the race. However, Isaac has again got to complete his pit stop and not fall to the same fate as Pedro Picanco, Vitautas Lugatskas and Victor Veloso, all picking up drive-through penalties.
When he comes around this lap, we need to compare lap times, I think, between Isaac and Yanni.
Gap 35.5 seconds at the first split after Katia has come back to speed. We'll see what that gives Isaac 35 seconds to get through the lane. He'll have a little less fuel he has to take, being an additional lap or 2. I'm not sure if Isaac's going to pit this lap. We'll find out here momentaneously as Isaac comes out of the final corner onto the pit straight once more. And Isaac is in the pit lane now, so let's watch we watch with great interest his entry, see if he can get in tidily. He does, just a little loose, and on the binders, put that limiter on, and yes, he's using the first gear trick, which is a very good trick that you set the pit lane simulator at 80 or 81 kilometers an hour, and you don't have to worry about the limiter. Gives you the advantage of keeping the turbo spool. Isaac taking the furthest spot down. He is stopped. Where is Yanni? Yanni is in the final corner now as Isaac coming on the throttle, waiting for the stop to end. About to release. Katia coming across the pit entry area now.
There's Isaac Price
still
on the right
stationary.
Shot, and here comes Yanni. And Isaac's moving. It's going to be very close, but I think Isaac's got it.
Isaac still having to come up to speed. Katia with a run.
Katia will have him. This is crazy. Oh, will he? No, he won't. Oh, that's amazing. So Isaac's managed the overcut. Just
barely, but can Yanni, with warmer tires, have a little better run through turns 5, 6, and 7 as Laguskas completes his drive-through penalty? But if Yanni can get around Isaac in the next few corners, he might be able to hold him off. If not, we're going to have a stormer of a finish between these two drivers, I would expect.
Victor Veloso is fighting side by side with Littmanen. Littmanen goes
off
into the gravel.
Has Veloso served his penalty yet?
Negative. No, he's not.
I believe he has 3 laps to serve that, so he needs to get down the pit lane, or he might get a post
Yanni
race.
Katia with a slipstream on Price going into that corner. This is not over yet by any stretch. Yanni tucks out of the slipstream to keep the gap, to try and keep as much downforce as he can on his car at that corner, and with that compromised him through that corner and has lost time. See how we go through the spoon curve here. Yanni trying to keep it nice and tight. Isaac Price doing the same.
You see at this point on the lap, Isaac's tyres are somewhat up to temperature now, so not suffering with the cold tyres. That sector 1 and the initial part of sector 2 is enough for Isaac to get his tyres up into the operating window that he needs to hit his marks. The gap is 0.4.
This is going to be close. Isaac with a slightly wider line. But yeah, Isaac with a great exit there. Yanni not able to really close up. So it does look like the alternate line through the final turn does It doesn't really affect things too much.
It gives him a straighter run through that little switchback.
Yeah, I mean Isaac's. Yeah, that was an amazing overcut. This could be a very different picture if that had been a second either way, but that was perfectly judged from Isaac Price there, and yeah.
Veloso has served his drive-through penalty, and that puts him down into. It'll put him down into P9 as Kanko gets around him, and may even be it's P8 now, excuse me, and may even be P9 if Leguskas can get around him as Veloso comes out just ahead of Vitautas.
Yeah, this is bad for Legutskas's championship. He's down in P number 9, and Sami Lipmanen is up in P3, so I wonder how that will affect the championship standings. I'm sure we'll be able to bring you a provisional update at some point. Tilo, if you have some information on that, that would be great.
Use your calculator smoking, Thilo.
If they if they finish the way they are currently running, Isaac Price increases his championship lead from 22 to 39 points to Vitautas Lagutskas. Sami Litmanen also falls back another 11 points. He's then 55 points behind heading into the final round. And in a way, this switches the championship battle, because heading into this very round, due to the nature of the drop results, if any of the top 5 did not score any point in the remaining races, Sami Litmanen would have won the championship. Now, it's Isaac Price who is in the best position heading into this season finale, if they finish the way they are running right now.
Some incredible prizes up for grabs. I'll name the top 3 just for your reference. So if you win the championship, of course, a huge amount of prize money, €1,000 in prize money, and 2,100 euros equivalent in cryptocurrency as well for whoever wins the championship. So plenty of money, and not alongside money as well, you get to drive the Buggyra VK50 race truck. That's about 1,200 PS, so plenty of horsepower, and 5,500 Newton meters of torque as well. Whoever wins the championship gets to drive that for 10 laps with David Wojecki coaching at the Most track in the Czech Republic. Second place gets €500 in prize money, as well as 1,400 euros of cryptocurrency prize, as well as an attempt to have a go around Most in the Renault Clio Cup car with Thomas Enger coaching you. Third place will bag you a drive in the Can-Am Buggyra MK50 in the off-road area in a track in the Czech Republic, alongside 250 euros in prize money and roughly 700 euros in cryptocurrency as well. So fantastic prizes up for grabs, and yeah, Isaac Price looks to be the one to take the championship if he continues.
So doing a little bit more of the mathematics in the background with lovely spreadsheets. If they finish the way they are running right now, Sami Litmanen is out of championship contention, and it will be a one-on-one between Isaac Price and Vitautas Lagutskas heading into the finale in Aston.
Yeah, but it must be really tricky for Vitautas to close that gap, because there's 7 places between those 2 drivers currently in this race, as we're watching Levente Toth getting very up close and personal with Michael Malik, and Daniel Balla is waiting to pounce on anything that goes on between these 2 again.
Misfortune.
Yep, that's another word for it. Daniel did actually close up quite a bit there, while Levente was messing around in the dirty air, and it looks like he had to think about it, and he'll be in the dirty air himself. Will Daniel actually manages to do that quite well as we head onto the oval for the 33rd time in this race. Only 8 laps remaining, this and 7 more.
Isaac Price has pulled out the gap over Yannick Attia to 1.14 seconds. Here, a couple laps into this last stint of the race. Lippmann nearly 6 seconds off of Katia, as Bala getting around Levente Toth and now trying to chase Michael Malik.
Yeah, we just missed that overtake on the oval, down into the Boothie chicane. And yeah, Daniel on a bit of a charge here. Can he get past Michael Malik as well? Michael goes quite wide, but we've seen that doesn't matter that much if you can get the power down. But Michael, big drift, and Daniel is lining him up nicely. So expect to see another pass on the home straight. We've been so lucky with absolutely treated to some brilliant racing action this evening. This is a track that just keeps on giving, especially with these fantastic rear-wheel drive GT cars. As Michael actually retaliates, Daniel might have overtaken him a bit soon. Yep. Michael goes a bit deep. Daniel gives him plenty of room. Michael on the grass, and the move's done.
And Toth will now have a move on Malik after Malik compromised his turn 2 exit. But now we'll have a chance back at Toth, perhaps going into turn 4, or if he goes on a send up the inside. Thinks better of it.
Isaac Price leads from Joni Katila, followed by Sami Lippmanen. There's quite a gap between the lead 2 and the final spot on the podium. But then an even bigger gap back to Jan Wikowski for Conquest Racing in P number 4. Then it's Energy Virtual Racing's Kaike Piroppo is in a really close battle still with Genuine Racing's Nico Patola. And it's remarkable really after 33 laps and just over an hour and 15 minutes of racing that everyone's still pretty close. Pedro Picanco's trying to fend off Vitalis Lagutskas in the dying moments of this race. Then it's Victor Veloso. The two drivers, Lagutskas and Victor Veloso, succumbed to drive-through penalties a few moments ago. That's why they are now so far out of position to where they were earlier in the race. Sean Lee's having a great run. He's up into the top 10. He was outside the top 10 for most of the race, but there he is in P number 10. Great effort from him. Then it's Ayoub El Hanouni for Born to Race in P11, followed by the first of the backmarker Sidus cars. That's Gabor, running in P12. Then it's Radek Lutsky for Viaduct Czech Racing in P13. Race Green's Daniel Balla in P14, ahead of Levente Toth and Michael Malik. Then it's Pauli Peltigangas, who's had a bit of a wobbly race. He was right up at the sharp end, P2 at one point, and now he's all the way back down in P17. So after an enormously long pit stop, he has fallen all the way to the back, unfortunately. Then it's Jeffin Jacob from Race Screen Autosports. Jari Katila, the second of the Katila pair here today in P number 19. Yaroslav Donolik rounds out the top 20. Then we've got Gonzalez for Born to Race in P21. Sergej Markin in P22. And Bob Vincent rounds out the 23 current drivers who are still going in round number 9, the endurance race here at the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup.
Nico Pantola, who started 4th, currently 6th, is closing in on Kaike Piroppo of Energy Virtual Racing. And if Nico can get around them here in the last 6.5 laps, that would bag Nico a top 5. He's been slowly wheeling him in and running just that little bit faster, pretty much so every sector for the last lap and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned quite a lot before Victor made his pit stop that Victor wasn't enjoying. Wasn't enjoying his car very much at the end of his stint. Nico he got off to a really great start and then kind of fell back from P3. He's now in P6. But yeah, if he can make this move, that'll be a great result for Nico, and it'll be a great result for both of these drivers if they can keep it where they are, of course. Pedro Picanco's gifted them both a free position, as has Lagutskas and Veloso.
Gap just over 0.4 of a second. Pantola about 1.5 tenths of a second faster than Piroppo's. Piroppo gets it a little twitchy coming out of the first pair of corners as they head through turn 3 down the run to turn number 4 as the track crosses over itself. And we'll see if Piroppo can keep the gap or if Nico closes in through the sweeping section here. This is one of my favorite sections of corners in Live for Speed. 2 right-handers and a left-hander, pretty well off camber and increasing.
Meanwhile, at the front, we'll cut away from that battle just for now because Isaac has got some traffic to deal with, and he's got Yoni closing up as well. This is not what he wants, but hopefully the traffic realises what's going on and moves swiftly out of the way. They do. They go high on the oval. That's great to see. That's Yaroslav Donolik and I believe Gonzalez. Yes, it is.
Yeah, the Born to Race driver. Again, just pulling ahead of Yoni Katia. It looks as though Yoni's going to have to make his way through later, but Gonzalez keeps it stuck in for turn 13, and Isaac straight over the chicane.
I think Isaac straight lined the chicane, seeing Gonzalez coming up his inside.
Yeah, that was an uncomfortable situation there. Yeah, those two were battling, and as were Isaac and Yoni, so it's always a bit uncomfortable when you've got two battling pairs doing a lapping situation. But yeah, Isaac across the start-finish line first, ahead of Catilla.
Pantola and Parappo side by side coming onto the front straight. Pantola laid back a bit to not give Parappo a chance back down to turn 1. Now Pantola to the left-hand side going into turn 1. And Parappo sneaking it up the inside. Turns into inside move. They make contact. Pantola's gone skating across. And Parappo coming back across. That's a little bit uncalled for there, I would think.
Yeah, they're at risk now from the Gutskas. They don't want to be making that sort of door-to-door contact when they were, you know... I don't know. I'll save my opinion for that for later. But yeah, they don't want to keep doing that.
But I think the situation started with Pantola lifting to not be in the slipstream too early. In that time, Parappo also lifted to be in the slipstream back again early. And they couldn't decide what to do. Then there was a bump. Probably Nico wanted to bump draft then, but Kaike was not up to it. They lost a whole lot of time, so Vitatas Dagutskas is now at the tail end of Nico Pantola.
Absolutely. I really hope that Yoni Catilla can try and make some of that time back that he lost from that unfortunate incident with the Born to Race driver. That was very, very... such a shame that that backmarker battle had to get in the way of the finish of the race, but apparently it's back to half a second. They're still close together. This is going to be a good finish. We've got 5 laps to go. This last corner and 4 laps remaining.
Cynical me, looking at Isaac Price and Yanni Katia. There's 1 lap car between Isaac Price and Yanni Katia, and clear track the rest of the way. And that is Yanni's father. Cynical me. Does father help son?
From how I know the Katias and their sportsmanship, I doubt it.
I doubt it as well.
I concur with you all, but there are the cynical amongst us that would be thinking, oh, I see.
Wouldn't it be great if they were in the same house and Yanni's just shouting up the stairs, Dad, do a thing. Yeah, that'd be great.
Just rings his dad from his sim. Spinella.
Dad, Isaac is faster than you. Confirm you.
Yes.
Father.
No, we are not suggesting that racers do anything to advantage themselves in some way or another.
Yeah. Just wait for the manufacturer of the XLR to phone into the radio and say "Schieb ihn raus." Like they did in DTM.
Anyway. Jari Catilla coming up to corner number 9. That corner with the 2 race leaders right behind. No pressure. Oh, jeepers.
Ring.
Yeah.
Spinella.
Oh, heck.
No, it's clean.
Makes it a little bit difficult for
it would
Isaac,
be.
maybe.
Of course it would be.
A little bit difficult, and I think Katia, the younger one, is now in a good spot.
Oh, this is close. This is close.
Yanni got a good run through the spoon curve. An absolute
This is
good
close.
run.
Yeah, there's about 3/10 separating these two now. We'll know the exact figure when they cross the split line in just a few meters. The gap is currently 0.32. Arguably the closest Yanni's been to the back of Isaac, but Isaac seems to be quite strong through the Boothie chicane and a little bit stronger than Yanni through turn 16, the crucial traction zone. You're on the power from turn 16 all the way down to the braking zone for turn 1, so we'll see how they fare this time around.
Yeah, this is as close as they've been since they had that incident at the Boothie chicane a couple of laps ago. But a fantastic exit once again from Isaac. Look how good he is at that final corner. Just different lines through that corner, different approaches. The gap is enormous.
But it seems like often the leading car is actually the one getting the better exit there.
I suppose the dirty air must have some sort of an effect as you're trying to put the power down through that quick chicane. Yanni with a bit of an alternate line through there, not the cleanest line. 3 laps to go. This is a grandstand finish if you ever wanted one, between World Class Lines and Isaac Price for Williams Esports.
It has settled down between Parapo, Pantola, and Laguskas here as they're starting their antepenultimate lap. But Laguskas trying to see what he can salvage point-wise on this.
Yeah, Lagutskas up to P7 as you said, and yeah, I mean, yeah, his drive-through penalty ruined it for him. He had every opportunity to. I mean, he was with Isaac the whole race pretty much. There was a bit of a gap behind, but Lagutskas could make up a couple more positions, maybe one more if he can get past Nico Matola. That would help certainly as we head into the final, and that would keep the championship battle alive to the final race, which is what we all desperately want. Don't want to let Isaac get away too easily. Lagutskas is, at this point, I believe, the only man able to keep this championship battle alive. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tilo. But yeah, see what Lagutskas can manage in the last couple of laps. Obviously, Yanni Katila can also help out if he gets past Isaac. That would help Lagutskas immensely going into the final round in a couple of weeks' time.
Laguskas being helped immensely right now by Slipstream with Nico Pantola, and hangs to the right, and Laguskas will be around Nico Pantola well before the kink to the oval.
Oh,
and
Nico
Nico's
Pantola!
lost it! Nico's lost it!
He got on the curb. He got on that outside curb.
And clouded the wall.
Oh, that could have been terrible. Tilo, do you want to say out loud what you just said into my ear?
So, from the looks of things, Sami Littmann's pace dropped significantly by about 3 seconds, and when I'm listening to the engine, he's actually coasting into the braking zone, so he's heavily saving fuel
He had
right
a clutch
now.
in going into one.
Fascinating stuff.
3.5 seconds back to Vikowski.
Last lap, 2.5 seconds faster than Sami Littmann.
Righto then.
Battle for P10 between Alanuni and Sean Lee. Sean Lee with a new mouse I found out just before the race, and he was having some trouble getting used to it, and he was having problems especially with turn 1. And he has lost his top 10 spot, and now Ayub Al-Hanouni has gone up into P10 now with just a lap and a half to go for our race leader Isaac Price.
Here comes Sean Lee. Imagine doing endurance racing with a mouse. I mean, okay, here comes Sean. He wants that top 10, you can tell. Ayub did a great job there getting past, but I wonder if Sean has anything to say to that. Sean's got a good bore behind him as well. But yeah, it looks like that place is Ayub's for now.
Yeah, Yanni is absolutely driving the wheels off of his car at the moment. He just set a purple Sector 1, taking 1.6 tenths out of Isaac Price, and a further 3/100ths of a second as both of the top two set personal best split twos. That gap sits nice, about 0.56 of a second. We'll see if Yanni can do anything else in the remaining lap and 2 corners that we've got here.
Wasn't Go on.
Wachowski is on the back of Littmanen now. Littmanen on the clutch from the kink on the oval to the breaking point for the Boothie chicane, and so Littmanen definitely in limp at home mode.
He's got a back markers. Donnelly ahead of him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Donnelly
had
let
just gotten
Donnelly
around
pass
Littmanen.
actually, because Donnelly was faster than Littman.
Okay, great stuff. So yeah, it looks like Jan Mikowski's going to get past Sammy Littmanen if he keeps fuel saving at this rate. We are on the final lap here of round number 9.
We are indeed, and I think it's all over for Yanni Katia. He lost 0.4 of a second in the final sector
It was
after
all at
taking
Boothie.
chunks of time out of Isaac Price. It looked to be at turn 16 rather than at Boothie. Just not being able to get on the power.
Quite a ragged exit from Boothie and a botched final corner then for Yanni.
Sami
Gap
seems
currently at 0.9.
Vytautas Laguskas looking to try and salvage a top 5 if he can. And as they head down to turn number 4, Laguskas looking around the outside. We'll give him the inside for turn 5 if he sticks it, or the inside for turn 6 if he waits up there. But cannot do it properly, staying in 5 for at least the first sector of the final lap. And
Abe's got some connection issues on the final lap. It looks like he's dropping down the order as Sean Lee moves back up to P10 and Gabor to P11. So hopefully Abe, his connection can maintain itself for the last lap. That's not going to be comfortable for Sean Lee or Gabor. They're wondering where that car's going to be. As it times out from
He's
the
gone.
server, that's so unfortunate for Abe on the final lap. Out of P10, times out of the server. That's tragic.
I see our race leader going into the Boothie chicane, Jack.
Yep.
Yeah, to complete the final sector, the final lap of the 40-lap endurance race here at Kyoto Ring Grand Prix Long. Isaac's done everything he needs to fight his way up from 11th position, up 10 positions into the race lead, and the gap, crucially, to Yoni Katia, his biggest rival, was at 0.5 at the start of this lap, is now at 1.4. Isaac setting a personal best split 1 for good measure on the final lap. Will take the fastest lap of the race as well, set on lap 23, but nothing can separate this man from winning. He took second position in qualifying, the win in the sprint race, and across the line, Isaac Price wins here at Kyoto for Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup.
That was an amazing drive there from Isaac Price.
Littmanen holds on to...
Littmanen runs out of fuel.
Oh, wow.
Littmanen running out of fuel right across the line, so good fuel saving, but keeps P3 and gets the bottom step of the podium. Wachowski coming across in 5th. Nico Pantola running out towards the line. Parappo holding Laguskas off towards the finish of the race. Actually, Laguskas doesn't even finish.
Victor Velosa doesn't finish.
Yeah, there goes Nico across the line.
Something must have happened between Veloso, Laguskas, and...
Laguskas either ran out of fuel or he dropped. So still waiting for some cars to finish, but Isaac Price winning from Yanni Katia by 1 3/4 of a second. Sammy Littmanen 15.5 seconds adrift in 3rd, running out the podium. Jan Mikowski 4th. Kike Pirapo in 5th position. Pedro Pacanco 6th after a good early part of the race, but a drive-through taking him back down. Laguskas dropping back to P7 at the end, also a drive-through penalty affecting him. Nico Patola 8th. Sean Lee finishing 9th position. Gabor Giri in P10. Radek Lawski in 11th. Daniel Ball at 12th. 13th is Levente Toth. And Pauli Peltakangas 14th. And we're still waiting on a couple more cars to finish here. Looks like our last car will be Gonzalez, who's coming out of the Boothie chicane now. So just a few more moments until we get the final positions in.
So yeah, just waiting for a couple of times to come round. It's
Our
quite a long
last
lap,
car.
isn't it?
Our last car is Gonzalez, and he is coming across the line now. Coming across the line now to finish in 20. Oh no, he had already finished. He was just doing the next lap. Okay, wait a
Okay,
minute.
there we go.
Yeah,
So yeah,
full. Okay, so
confusing us by doing another full speed
yeah, so we've done.
lap.
So yeah, he needed to do full 40 laps for his own strategy, I presume. P15 was Yefin Jacob, finishing as a penultimate car on the lead lap. Michael Malik last car on the lead lap with 2 minutes behind. 1 lap down, we have Yari Katia, Gonzalez, Yaroslav Donalik, Vincent, and Sergei Markin, P21, 2 laps down. So we've lost 4 cars from the start.
So, championship picture provisionally as this round has finished. Isaac Price still in the lead of the championship, 2,680 points, ahead of Vytautas Lagutskas with 2,641 points, so 39 points behind the Briton in the lead. Sami Littmann in third position, 55 points behind, and suddenly he is out of the championship picture. He cannot win the championship in the season finale in a month's time. Fourth position, Jan Wikowski back again with 2,541 points, and Joni Katir back in fifth position as the dice roll of the drop results fell into play.
Great stuff. Thank you for that, Tilo. So there you go. There's our podium of drivers. Isaac Price in the middle, Sami Littmanen on the right, and Joni Katila on the left. Joni taking P2, of course. We should hear from a couple of drivers very soon. Hopefully we can hear from Isaac and Joni. Yeah, it looks like we also had an incident that we need to talk about on the final lap between Victor Veloso and Nico Pantola. We're just trying to get some more details on that right now, but it looks like there was an incident on the final lap that meant that the the second of the 2 non-finishing Energy Virtual Racing drivers on the final lap, Victor Veloso, unfortunately not able to finish. But yeah, let's talk to some of the drivers. Let's first of all talk to Isaac Price. Hi, Isaac.
Hello.
Congratulations once again. This is a stark contrast from last week.
Yeah, well, obviously after the last race, I put myself under a bit more pressure because, I didn't really have any room for making any silly mistakes anymore in the championship. So, yeah, I put a bit more effort into this one, practice-wise, and, tried to do my best so that I'd have no regrets if something went wrong, you know?
I certainly do know, and that overcut that you managed, there was there was nothing in it, was there? I mean, you timed that to absolute perfection. How did you see that panning out? Did you think you had Joni?
No, I was really surprised, but I took every bit of fuel out that I could. It was like if I hadn't saved any fuel in the last stint, I probably would have ran out by 0.01% or something. So I had to save a little bit, but yeah, I didn't expect to actually get ahead of him. I expected to be a second, 1.5 seconds behind, but I don't know. Maybe because I guess everyone was getting penalties on the entry, so maybe he just took it really careful. But yeah, I just pretty much did it as I did it in practice, a little bit safer. But yeah, I don't know. Don't know if he missed his box or something. I wasn't expecting to get him.
I think it was partially just the probably you taking less fuel potentially, and Joni, your out lap was stunning, your in lap was stunning. Joni's wasn't. It was okay, but it wasn't brilliant. So I guess all these factors kind of helped you out. So coming into the start of this race, you were starting in P. Someone remind me.
P11.
P11, exactly, yes. So, you didn't make fantastic progress off the line, and it took you around till around a lap 10 or 11 before you actually made up any real positions. Yeah, at that point, were you thinking, "Oh dear, this is going to be a long race"?
Yeah, well, obviously it's not ideal, but because it wasn't a like 19 reverse or something like that, the guys that are ahead of you aren't that bad. Like they're not
Yeah.
that easy to overtake. And I didn't want to take any silly risks because, yeah, I wanted to play the long game. That was kind of my plan from the start. To be honest, I didn't really get any opportunities. Like the only kind of opportunities were like make it 4 wide or something like that. It was just nuts, and I couldn't afford to do that. So I let it off. Maybe at the start of the season when you've got 3 drops left, you'd go for those moves. But yeah, I was taking it easy, and yeah, it kind of was about, I don't know, 16, 17 laps to go. I was really concerned because no one was pitting. I was like in fourth place, which is still a little bit better than what I had before, but yeah, it didn't really seem to be working out. And then yeah, in the space of like 2 laps, I finally managed to get past Sammy, and Veloso made a mistake in turn 3, so I got him as well. And then yeah, it all kind of just, everything happened in the space of like 7 laps.
It was intense, and yeah, at one point we were thinking that Yoni had done just about enough to maintain his position, and we were surprised. We were all surprised when you came out just ahead of Yoni. So the stars aligned for you, but it doesn't take anything away from your approach to this race and everything that you did during it. So really well done. Great to watch yet again. Tilo has some good news for you. Tilo, do you want to let Isaac know what the field looks like for the next race?
So basically, heading into the Aston season finale, you're leading by 39 points, and the way the drop results are falling, your only contender left is Vytautas Lagutskas.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, still, obviously the gap seems quite nice, but my drop is like 266 or something in the main race. So if something goes wrong in the main race, anything can happen. So
yep, but for Lagutskas, it's the same drop because today's race is his best drop result.
Yeah, at least we're all in the same boat. There shouldn't be any underhanded stuff. I mean, to be honest, there wasn't today. I mean, if anything, he was helping me. So,
He was pushing.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. But I think we were both in the same boat, that we were like stuck in the traffic, and although we could start battling each other and focus on each other, it would let Sammy into the championship again, because obviously he's in a situation where he hasn't really got any bad drops, so it's quite hard for him to improve on his points. So yeah, I think he kind of had that half in his mind as well, like locking down second. But yeah, I was surprised, but yeah, definitely helped me get through a few cars.
Definitely. I do want to bring up one point. I don't know if you remember it. I'm guessing you do, though. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, gents, but there was 3 of you going into turn 1. It was you at the front, Vytautas behind you, and then Gabor. I think it was Gabor. He messed up his
Yeah, he
brakes.
hit me from behind.
And hit you. Our hearts were in our mouths at that point. We thought, oh dear, this is bad. The 2 championship leaders about to be sent off into the wall at turn 2. That must have been uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, obviously my top speed was kind of huge, so I braked on the safe side, so I was okay. But yeah, I was quite surprised that he managed to hold on to it and that Gabor didn't collect him. It was definitely intense, but it wasn't the most heart in mouth moment for me in that race. Obviously, the back marker was like 5 laps to go. Yeah. That was 10 times
I was just
worse.
about to ask you about that when we dragged Yoni into the commentary box as well. I want to get your both opinions on that into turn 13, because I saw you chatting afterwards. You were wondering whether you needed to yield to the inside or whether you'd have been able to just commit to the racing line and get away with it. But yeah, I must say that was an intense moment for us to watch as well.
Hang around for 2 seconds, Isaac. I'll get your comment on that in a moment, because let's bring in Yoni. Hi, Yoni.
Hello.
Hello. Well done. That was a very, very well fought race. You must have thought that you had a really good chance after your pit stop. I want to talk about the incident that happened at the Boothie chicane. Jack, do you want to bring Yoni up to speed on what you were asking Isaac just before?
Yeah, so I noticed Isaac and yourself chatting after the race. Yeah, I just want to know what was going through your head when you were in the braking zone up into the Boothie chicane there, and there was a lap car on your inside. What was going through your mind? What did you want to do at that point? What could you have done?
Just a slight heart attack. I had the same moment with Velosov before. When I passed him, he tried to come back in the booty chicane, so it was kind of scary.
Yeah, it looked like you lost a lot of time there. It was really unfortunate, obviously, when you have two battling pairs and they're both lapping each other. So it just needs both sides to work together. And in that unfortunate incident, it didn't work. Isaac looked like he shot across the gravel in panic, and you somehow managed to brake enough and avoid the back of Gonzalez's car. It worked out, but you did lose a bit of time at a critical moment. Do you reckon? Well, it's easy to say in hindsight, but yeah, do you reckon that you could have had Isaac if that hadn't happened?
Maybe. Well, Isaac yielded a bit too much for me. So.
Yeah, I think I gave back I basically tried to make the gap the same as it was before, even though I lost time as well because I equaled the gap rather than giving up the time that I lost. So
Yeah, to be fair, I will say the gap was 0.5 going into that corner, and at the start finish line, it was as close as you could have got it to where it was before. So,
well, fair play, Isaac, fair play.
But yeah, I just saw like a flash in my mirror that he was like closing in and like a little bit loose and squirrely, and yeah, I knew from practice that like if you cut across the gravel, you don't really lose anything. So I went for it, but it was a split second decision because yeah, obviously if he would have hit me there, then I had no idea what was going to happen. So yeah, luckily it all worked out.
Well, great stuff. Thank you, Isaac. Yoni, just talking about your race in general. When Isaac came out ahead of you after his pit stop, did that take you by surprise? Did you think you'd done enough to stay ahead?
I knew it was gonna be close because my out lap sucked a lot. So, I mean in lap. I'm sorry, in lap. So yeah, it was gonna be close, and I didn't think I have any pace to keep up with Isaac, but surprising I did. So, but yeah, it would have been difficult to pass him because we were pretty much same speed.
Yeah, Isaac's pit stop was 1 second shorter. He took less fuel at his stop, probably because he was trying to gauge it right to the end, and also because he obviously pitted later. But did you have fuel left over at the end?
Oh
you must
yeah,
have done because you helped push Isaac round to the podium.
I had like 1.5 laps more fuel.
Okay, so maybe there was a little bit of time left there potentially. So yeah, older and wiser. There you are, Isaac. Gauging that fuel to perfection. Might entertain you to know that Sami Litmanen was also fuel saving heavily for the last 4 laps, and Nika Pentola ran out across the line. So yeah, lots of drivers cutting it fine on fuel, some more than others. Yeah, let's thank you both of you. We're going to have a quick word to Vitautas Lagutskas. Hello, Vitautas.
Hello.
Hello. A mixed evening. Obviously, a great result in race one, finishing just behind Isaac in the 5-lap sprint race. But talk us through your endurance race this evening.
Ooh, for endurance race, I thought I had same pace as Isaac, plus minus like equal. But in like third lap, I got myself engine damage, and after Isaac passed me, I just saw that I couldn't keep up with him on straight. So whenever I caught up, I just pushed him and hoped to overtake as many cars as possible that way.
Yeah, we saw the bump drafting. We did wonder what was going on because it's very unusual for the two people at the top of the championship to be essentially helping each other around. We saw you do it a bit at Blackwood down the back straight. Obviously, that was for different reasons, but yeah, good to know that the reason behind that, and obviously unfortunate that you picked up that engine damage. So let's talk about that drive-through penalty if we can. What went through your head when that happened?
Well, I was a little upset, but it wasn't a big thing, as I already knew I wouldn't get like third position in the race overall. So basically, I wouldn't count this round anyway, so I don't lose anything. So I was alright with that, because I knew already that I had damage and I couldn't keep up with top 3. So for that reason, I was okay with it.
Fair enough. You and Isaac are the only two drivers that are still capable of winning the championship at the next race. You and Isaac are now the only two that can do that. So yeah, maybe a better result here could have closed that gap a little bit. Maybe that drive-through didn't obviously didn't help that, but yeah, a little bit unfortunate. yeah, we didn't really see much of you for the last part of the race. Obviously, after you had that penalty, but the start of your race, you managed to get a great start. You got past a couple of cars, and then you fell back into P10. I'm guessing that was around the time that the engine damage happened. Talk us through how you how the beginning of the race went, and how you thought how you thought the race was going to go, considering that it took you and Isaac quite a while to start chipping away at cars, around about lap 11, we think.
Yeah, so for first laps, I was just looking at the gaps to the front guys, and I was surprised how fast Veloso was in his first laps. Unfortunately, he didn't finish.
Yeah.
But overall, everyone had great pace in this round. I would love to know what pace I could have done if I didn't do any damage to my car. But overall, I think I did as good as I can. And for the end, I knew I won't lose anything, and I saw Nico, who was out of fuel into last corner, so I just waited for him and pushed him into the finish line. So that was nice ending for the race.
Very good. Any other questions from the booth for our three drivers
I've just
here?
got one question to ask all three of you gents. We've got about 4 weeks until the very final race, Aston Grand Touring on November the 1st. What are your thoughts running into this? Is it a track that you kind of gel with? What you will start with? We'll start with you, Isaac. Unless Isaac's actually disappeared, he's in the Team Speak channel. But we'll ask you, Yanni. Are you there? What are your thoughts moving into round number 10 at Aston Grand Touring?
I don't think I've ever really much raced there, at least with GTR. So I don't know. I kind of like Aston, so might be good.
With more being on the line and the championship still up for grabs, are you going to do any more practice? Are you as well, Vitautas? Would you approach this with more practice than you would normally?
I wouldn't, to be honest. Usually I did better in the rounds where I didn't do much practice. I haven't done a single stint in SouthCity, and I won that. And for this one, I had 3 stints and pretty much fucked it in the first 3 laps. So practice doesn't matter in my eyes. Just prepare a setup which you would be comfortable with.
That's really interesting. Like wow. Okay, you won the last race with no practice. That's remarkable.
Especially hearing that from you when we all talked about you practicing thousands of laps at the early stages of the season.
Well, that was Yanni. This is Vitautas, but yeah.
Oh.
Yanni was doing thousands of laps of practice. Vitautas does nothing. Sorry, Yanni, you should probably close your ears for that. You don't really want to hear that, do you?
True.
Yeah. So yeah.
Isaac, yeah, we've got the finale, round number 10. I don't think Isaac's here. If he is, he'd feel free to just say hello. But yeah, I assume he'll just attempt to practice and warm up as usual. You know, you guys are very familiar with Aston Grand Touring, and I'm sure you've done thousands and thousands of laps in the XRR over the many years that you've been on Live for Speed. But yeah, we've got 4 weeks or just under a month until the very final round 10 of the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup Aston Grand Touring on the 1st of November. But if you want to know where we are in the meantime, we are live next Tuesday on the 6th of October for round 37 of the Team Rock Racing Championship. That's from Fern Bay, a custom configuration in the RB4. So hopefully some mixed surface racing should be good. I like the way Team Rock Racing seem to switch up the combinations week in, week out. And then the following Sunday, a week from now, on the 11th, we have round number 1 of the revival of the TBO Challenge. So New Dimensions Racing's TBO Challenge will be live at 2 p.m. UTC on Sunday, the 11th of October.
That is shaping up to be a cracker. We've got 41 entrants so far, and West Hill National Lift King should be a pretty interesting opener for TBO Challenge.
Yeah, and with the balance of performance, so of course the 3 TBO cars will be balanced as fair as they possibly can. But the addition of success ballast as well keeps the competition alive. So those that will find themselves at the sharp end of the championship might find themselves with an extra kilo or 2 of ballast. So yeah, shaping up to be a really good one.
Thank you for that, Jack. Thank you to the 3 people who joined us in the commentary box for the interviews. The winner, Isaac Price, P2, Yoni Katilla, and Vitasis the Gutskas, who finished this race in P7. Heading into round 10 at Aston in a couple of weeks' time, Isaac Price and Vitasis the Gutskas are the 2 men who can lift the title of the inaugural Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to the sponsors of the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup. That includes Excalibur Army, Slovak Training Centre, Eldis, VAG Logistics Services, K-Tech, New Trend, A-Track, GC System, and Yordak. And of course, the technical partner for the Buggyra Zero Mileage GT Cup, 301.cz, and our race director, Robert Kotlaber. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Tilo. And thank you, JP, for joining us in the commentary box this evening. And to everybody else, have a great evening. Good night.